I'll take this one.
Sharing.
I guess we'll share. Mona and I will share if we have to.
Your mics are on and closed captioning. Is it on? There it is.
Yep, they're working.
We are going to call the Select Board meeting of July 14th to order at 7:01. This meeting is being broadcast RCTV, Xfinity Channel 9, and FiOS Channel 31. It's also Zoom and live on RCTV's YouTube channel. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are doing things a little differently tonight because we have a joint meeting with our Board of Library Trustees. So I am going to hand the gavel over to Kathy to call your meeting to order.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. I am calling the Board of Library Trustees to order at 7:02 p.m. for the joint meeting of the Select Board and the Board of Library Trustees. We are here for this joint meeting for one purpose this evening, to interview candidates and appoint a new member to the Reading Board of Library Trustees to fill what we have a current vacancy. The appointment will be made by a combined majority vote of the members of the Select Board and the Board of Library Trustees, a couple of which are online, others will join. Present this evening, consistent with our procedures for filling a vacancy, which, if you care, are the Bolt Bylaws, Article 2, Section 3, and Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 11. For this joint item, I will preside over the discussion. I will manage the speaking order, recognize members of both boards, keep the discussion focused on the appointment, guide us through the nomination and voting process. We have two candidates this evening. I want to thank both of them for their willingness to be considered for public service and their interest in supporting the library. Serving as a trustee is a meaningful responsibility. Our role includes stewardship, policy, budget oversight, long-range planning, advocacy for the library, and support of our wonderful library director, Amy Lannon, and her staff. My intention is for everybody to ask candidates, if you have questions, the same core questions, so that both have an equal opportunity to present their qualifications, judgment, and understanding of the role. But members of the board, either board, may ask follow-up questions as long as they're brief and focused on the candidate's ability to do the job. After the interviews, I'll invite discussion. If we have any of the members of the boards, and at the appropriate time, I'll open the floor for nominations. We just need a motion or a nomination. We don't need a second. But motions may come from either board. We will be conducting roll call votes for the Board of Library Trustees because I have people online. I believe you guys have a quorum and everybody's here. Melissa will handle the voting for the Select Board. I will handle the voting for Bolt. We will combine a single tally, and the candidate with the most votes will have the position. And that's pretty much it. Before we begin, I want to emphasize this is not simply a question of who appreciates the library. I think everybody in this room does. The question is best suited at the moment, who could help govern, support, and strengthen the library going forward on behalf of the entire community. So with that being said, I believe we can start the candidate interviews unless there are any points of discussion or any questions.
You just have to call your meeting to order with
I
a roll
didn't.
call.
I do.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Calling Bolt to order. Can I get a motion? Do I need a motion to call it to order?
No, I just think you need to do a roll call of who's here in
Okay.
attendance because some are online and some are in person.
Very good. Roll call vote, call to order. Pat?
I'm here.
Kelly? Hello, Kelly. Andrew?
Here.
And I am here as well. So we are officially there. Okay. I think to start, I would like to give each candidate a couple minutes to introduce themselves and just explain why they're interested in the role. Try to keep the responses brief, under 2 minutes, so we can get to the questions, if that's okay. We will start with, I guess I will randomly choose.
think we're going alphabetical order.
Pardon?
Going to go in alphabetical order.
I suppose. We'll choose
Picture in our
Jason
packet
first.
there.
Very much,
Should I
Jason.
come up or stay here or?
Come to the podium,
Come
please.
to the podium, please.
And when
Thank
you
you.
get up there, if you just put your mic on, make sure it's green.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jason Clark, 342 Ash Street. I'm a town meeting member. Until recently, I spent, I think, 8 years or so on the bylaw committee. Worked in libraries since I was an undergraduate in the 1990s. Currently, resource sharing manager at Harvard College Library, and I've always been interested in the library. My wife is a power user of the library. I don't use it quite as much simply because I have access to Harvard's libraries, but if I didn't, I would use the library just as much as she does. And my daughter also was a frequent visitor there for both her own interests and like some events and stuff. And when I saw there was a vacancy, I'd always thought about trying for the board of the library trustees, and so I saw there was a vacancy, and I thought I'd offer my whatever help I might be able to present. I've lived in Reading since 2012, if that matters.
Thank you, Jason. Also, introducing Brenna Sullivan.
Hello, my name is Brenna Sullivan. I have been a Reading resident for 25 years now, about my entire life. I'm currently a bookseller at Whiteland Books, the local bookstore downtown, and I am a nanny during the week. So I spend a lot of time around readers, around Reading residents, specifically Reading families. I meet a lot of people at the Reading school systems, picking up the girls that I nanny. So I felt very excited about this opportunity and felt like I could bring a unique point of view, specifically as someone who has communicated a lot with Reading residents in a bookseller capacity, readers, and I really appreciate the local library. I have used it all my life. I use it a lot still for books, I've taken classes there. I've been able to go to museums and do fun events through ticketing through the library. So I'm very grateful for the Reading Library and just wanted to put my name in the ring to see if I could help in any way possible.
Thank you, Brenna. I will now open the discussion for questions of the candidates. I guess I will have to recognize anybody that would like to ask a question. So does anyone on either board have a question to begin? Chris? Oh, Andrew? Which one?
Great.
Andrew, Chris, recognize Christopher Haley.
All right, question for
Sorry.
the both of you. What would you say is the most valuable service that the library provides the community?
Can we just have them come to the podium?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna ask you,
Yeah,
point
if
of
you
order,
both
should
want-
they come up?
Yeah, they should, just because no one will hear
Yeah,
it.
because I will hear it, okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I believe the most valuable community that the library provides our community is a safe space for all people, that everybody is welcome, that you can come into the library and basically get a lot of education as well. I would say the education, the books themselves are a huge asset to the town. Literacy, particularly children's literacy, are something I'm very passionate about, and allowing the Reading residents all Reading residents, every single one, to access that for free is what I would say is the most valuable asset.
Yeah, I feel similarly. Libraries are an invaluable resource. Access to all the different access to information is essentially one of its greatest attributes. But as she said, it's also a great safe space. It's a place where that can serve the community in all sorts of ways. It's sort of a community hub, which I think is just one of its best aspects.
Thank you.
Any follow-up questions or comments to Andrew's question? If not, the chair recognizes Christopher Haley. I believe you had a question, sir.
Yep. Thanks, Cappy. And thank you both for volunteering. It's hard to find new people. You are both new, at least in this room anyway. So the biggest thing on the horizon for Reading is the looming override. And while the library does not play a major role in it. There is still a blip on the radar for their budgeting and everything. So if it is needed, would either one of you be able to potentially do any cuts to the library budget that are needed to keep it operating and running?
I feel it would be a very difficult decision because everything that the library provides is extremely valuable to our community, as we've stated tonight. But I do believe I would be able to. I think information is key, and educating myself on where we would be cutting would be the most important part, and discussing with fellow board members as well. I can't say I have a solid grasp of the library's budgeting at the moment, but it's something I know is a very important part of this role and would be willing to take on and think seriously about. So I think if the cuts were necessary to allow everybody to continue the access that they currently have to the library, then yes, I would be able to make cuts.
This is a place where I feel like my current experience could maybe come in useful. As the research sharing manager at Harvard, I manage a budget that includes 10 staff. Let's see, we currently get order articles, and that's about 20,000 a month in terms of purchasing articles for patrons. And I often am under crunch to find more efficient ways of doing things because I can never add another staff member no matter how busy we get. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about workflows, efficiency of workflows, and basically finding ways to do more with what we have. For example, just recently, we were able to introduce a DOI resolver. It's a software functionality that was able to shortcut. So currently, staff have to open up every request if it doesn't go through automatically, figure out what's wrong and fix it. The DOI resolver was able to start, if the DOI is included with the request, it's this URL, that can fix the, automatically fill in the data. And anyway, long story short, it saves 30% in our turnaround time, which very much saved me from having to hire any extra assistance or any extra help to process requests. We were just about there. So, I'm always just interested in trying to find efficiencies and workflow places that could be improved. So that's the one way I can look at things. I like to think in those terms. I'm considered a workflow specialist, so I'm always looking for efficiencies. So that's what I would try to do first before I had to make cuts. I can make cuts. I have made cuts to my own budget, but most of the time I'm able to find efficiencies that are able to save the money a better way.
Thank you both.
Any other questions? If not, I have one. In your view, what's the proper role of a library trustee? And what's the line between board governance and sort of professional responsibilities of the library director and their staff? What do you see as the difference as your role?
I feel the difference is, and the main goal of a library board trustee is to uphold the rules and beliefs that have been put in place. And I believe that the library staff and librarians are extremely educated on what they do. They know so much about the community. They know so much about what the library offers. And as a board member, I feel it's more offering, in a way, support, and also being a voice for the community, as well as for people who are not thinking like a librarian or like a library director. So I feel that upholding the policies that are in place and the mission statement that is in place is the most important role for a board member. And yeah, just bringing a difference of perspective, possibly, from an actual librarian.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and similarly, I think in my own experience, I know that as a manager myself, my job is to advocate for my team and what we do, but my manager, her job is to advocate for that, but also the larger organization. So as I see the board as a more like advisory capacity in that I understand that the director and her staff are going to want to do the best for everything that they have. And I think the perspective we offer is maybe just a level of distance from that, just a little bit of a distance from that, to have a slightly different perspective on what's needed. That's basically what she said.
Thank you very much, guys. Any other questions? Chair recognizes Karen.
Thank you. Not really a question, but just a comment. I just want to thank both of you for stepping up. I would not say it's been the easiest last several years for the library Board of Trustees. Sometimes there are some very difficult meetings, and sometimes that can keep people from stepping up and stepping forward. So I appreciate both of you. And Jason, thank you so much. I was so disappointed to hear you were stepping down for the bylaw committee, but you know, if you join the board tonight, it would certainly be for good reason, and I just wanted to let you know we all appreciate your efforts. And Brenna, thank you again. It is, the more voices we get from the community with your individual perspective, the better.
Thank you, Karen. Any other questions?
I have a quick one. Brenna?
Okay, board recognizes Kelly.
Thank you. Hi, Brenna. I was just wondering if we could ask you what you might have had for experience with clubs or organizations or teams in high school and college.
Yes, so thinking back to my high school years, so I played on 2 varsity sports teams, and I was captain of both, field hockey and tennis. And then I was in a club also in high school that was funded by, it was the Patriots and like Northeastern University, and it was about kind of founding and nurturing young leaders and being a leader of my high school peers. In high school, I mainly focused, and I was part of Century Club as well, and National Honor Society, so lots of volunteering. In college, I mainly focused on my academics, so I don't have any club experience from college, but that was my high school years.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Was that, sorry, Kelly, point of order. Was that just directed at Brenna, or would you like Jason to reply as well?
It was just directed at Brenna.
Very good, thank you. I just wanted to clarify. Do we have any other questions? If not, I have another question, and that is, one thing about the Board of Library Trustees is that we already have a substantial access to professional expertise as far as the library goes. So what perspective or experience or judgment could you guys personally add to the board that you feel is not already well represented?
I feel that I could bring a younger perspective to the board. I'm 24 right now, and I was very recently a teen and a tween, and I remember going to the library and being ecstatic at everything that the library offered for teens and tweens. That's something I am very passionate about, is spaces that are made for young people where they're not just welcomed, but they know that this space is specifically for them. That's something that I would very much have in mind if I was able to join the board. And just the younger perspective of someone who doesn't necessarily have a family in Reading, but cares about the greater well-being of young families and children in Reading. I care a lot about young families. I work with them every day. I talk to Reading residents who are specifically readers at Whiteland Books when I'm working there. So I feel that I have a lot of actual conversation experience with what people and members of our community who are readers care about, and even members who are not readers who come to the bookstore for, again, a safe, welcoming space. It's great to get to know so many people in my community, and I feel lucky that I've gotten to meet a wide variety of Reading members.
Thank you very much. Jason?
Well, I think obviously what I'm bringing is some technical expertise. So if you have plenty of that, that's great. The only thing I can say that I can bring is sometimes I do know that I have sometimes, like as a workflow specialist and stuff, I've noticed odd things that people have missed that can help things better. For example, back when I was an undergrad, back in the 90s, we introduced a service called Ordered Received, where if we'd purchased a book but hadn't cataloged it yet, which happens a lot, a person could fill out a request. And it used to be a paper request, and they put it online. And they're handing out these slips for this. And people aren't using it. They're coming up and saying, this URL doesn't work, this URL doesn't work. And I looked at it and I'm like, they wrote the word received in the URL. No one can spell received consistently. So I let them know about this and they fixed it and then it was fine. So I think that's the kind of thing I tend to notice, just sort of look at something and be like, well, why is it like this? But, you know, that's basically, but I would say the kind of thing that I could bring to the table. So I was the same way in bylaw. So.
Wonderful. Thank you guys very much.
You have one more.
You do?
So, you know, it's
Recognizes Andrew.
thank you. It's a short interim position, so just a yes or no. Are you going to be seeking election this coming round?
I would, sure. Yep.
Yes, I would very much be open to that.
Any other questions? Thank you, guys. Chair recognizes Monette. Barry?
Thank you both for coming and volunteering. A couple of years ago, and Karen alluded to this, we went through a really challenging time in our town, particularly with book challenges and members of our community challenging us about where books were placed in our library and also what materials were being offered. If you had been on the board at that time, how do you think you would have handled that, and how would you have been part of that conversation to address those concerns?
So if I was part of those conversations, I feel I would have been pretty vocal because freedom to read is something I'm very passionate about. I'm pretty anti-book banning. And what I would have really honed in on is supporting the decisions that our librarians make because they are experts in these matters. They are educated and have experience in what is best, not what is best, but what is appropriate for people to read or would be beneficial or just, you know, what people have the right to read. So I would have very much backed them and encouraged the decisions that they were making because this is their livelihood and they know a lot about the subject matter.
I mean, I was raised in a healthy diet of Fahrenheit 411 and whatnot, so like I would have been strongly in support of whatever the library itself wanted.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Are there any other questions? Oops, sorry. Are there any other questions? Okay. Any other points of discussion? If not, I believe, point of order, we move on to nominations. Would I need a motion for a nomination, or do we just have a nomination? Motion. So we have to have a motion to nominate? Okay. Do you have a motion to nominate either candidate, either Jason or Brenna this evening?
I'll move to nominate Jason Clark to the interim Bolt seat.
Excellent. Jason is nominated. Do we have any other?
I'll nominate Brenna Sullivan to the open Board of Library Trustees seat.
Thank you very much. And as I mentioned earlier, the way the procedure works is we will have, each board will handle their own voting. The select board, since they're all present, will be a normal vote, and we will do a roll call vote. But just out of curiosity, how do we handle the voting? Is it simple, all in favor of X, raise your hands? Is that how we're going to do it? Or does it need to be more formal?
We might have to do a roll call for everybody.
No, it's two separate.
Two separate.
You have
She's
to do
gonna
your
handle-
roll call
all right.
and we'll do ours regulars.
Okay.
But I think it's,
Does
I
it
know the
matter who goes
procedures,
first?
but is it okay just to say, okay, yeah, I think you could just do a roll call, all in favor.
Okay. All right, so I'll handle the Bolt part of it. It'll be a roll call vote. So all in favor of electing Jason to the open vacancy, or awarding Jason the open vacancy on the Board of Library Trustees, I will do roll call vote, starting with you, Patrick Egan.
Is that you?
I didn't think I was going first.
You're just in the top left. I can't help
And
it.
I didn't know if we were having a
So I don't,
further discussion.
or do we just say, Pick your
was
candidate.
just wondering if there was further discussion.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
I
probably
thought
a
I
good
said
idea.
further discussion. If not, Patrick, do you have any further, Pat, do you have any further discussion?
No, I'll add to the comment that I think we're very lucky to have two such solid candidates put themselves up and both bringing very different strengths. And I've heard both candidates say things tonight that really resonated with me very strongly, that are making this somewhat difficult. So that said, is the vote to me?
It is to you, sir.
I'm going to vote no.
Very good. Kelly,
And I echo Patrick's sentiments on two great volunteers, and so many thanks for coming forward. So this is on Jason right now?
correct.
No.
Andrew,
Yes.
Monette,
No.
and I am a no as well. So for Bolt, the votes are 4 against 1 for. Is that correct? Yes, correct. And I will pass the voting to Melissa.
Thank you, and I just read in here that we also need to do a roll call vote, so I will call a roll call
Oh,
vote.
did I say that? Oh, sorry.
No, it's just in the procedure. Karen Herrick.
Yes.
Karen Rose-Gillis.
No.
Chris Haley.
This is on Jason Clark.
Correct.
Am I allowed to elaborate or no?
If you'd like.
Well,
but
usually
just a
there's
roll call
discussion.
vote.
Well-
But we had our discussion.
I
won't take it personally.
I'm fine with it.
I would, I originally came in thinking yes, but I will be voting no.
Sal Bramante.
Yes.
Melissa Murphy, no. So we have 2 yeses, 3 nos.
2 yes, 3 no, and for us is 4 no and 1 yes. So that is 3 yeses and 7 nos. So as far as the Board of Library Trustees recognizes, Brenna, you have received the position, correct?
No, now we have
No,
to
you
vote
need
for
a
Brenna.
vote.
We have to vote for Brenna? Sorry, we have to do the same thing.
It's okay.
Very
It's
good.
okay.
Sorry, new to this. Pardon me, guys. I will do the roll call vote for the Board of Library Trustees. Do we have any discussion at the end of the prior vote? I don't want to. If not, Board asks Patrick Egan, your vote, sir. And this is for Brenna.
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Lynette,
Yes.
I am a yes as well. Bolt is 5-0 in favor. Passing the vote to Melissa.
Thank you. Karen Herrick.
Yes.
Karen Rose-Gillis.
Yes.
Sal Bramante.
Yes.
Chris Haley.
Yes.
Melissa Murphy, yes. And we have a 5-0 vote as well.
Excellent. Unanimous. And so the position has been awarded to Brenna. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for doing that.
Thank you guys very, very much. And thank you for bearing with me and an odd procedural thing. I will be passing the control of the meeting back to Melissa. So the Board of Library Trustees will have to have a motion to, what do you call it? To adjourn.
I move to adjourn the Bolt meeting.
Do I have a second, please?
I second the motion.
Excellent. Roll call vote, starting with you, Mr. Egan.
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Lynette,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We are adjourned as of 7:30, and I pass control back to Melissa. Thank you, guys.
And we'll just take a 2-minute pause to readjust.
Thanks.
Thank you guys very much for bearing with me.
Don't need that stuff.
That wasn't too bad. I didn't mess up too badly.
Like writing down the worksheets. I'm like, I'm already short-term memory loss.
I'm going to call the select board meeting back to order. Thank you, everyone. And now we are back to our regularly scheduled program. But before we move on to tonight's agenda, I'd like to briefly address something from our last meeting. During our discussion of board and committee appointments, comments were made that have understandably caused concerns among members of our community. Healthy discussion and differing viewpoints are part of serving on the select board. At the same time, I believe it's important that our conversations reflect our commitment to treating every volunteer with fairness and respect. We should be careful not to leave anyone with the impression that personal characteristics such as gender or race outweigh an individual's qualifications, experience, or willingness to serve. Reading is fortunate to have residents who are willing to volunteer their time and talents. We encourage that spirit of service and ensure that everyone feels welcome to step forward, knowing they will be considered on their merits and the needs of the committee. When comments made in the room leave people feeling hurt or discouraged, I hope we all take the opportunity to reflect on their impact and, when appropriate, make that right. As chair, I remain committed to fostering respectful discussion and ensuring that everyone who wants to serve this community feels welcome and valued. All right, we are going to move on to our agenda.
Question, could you elaborate on what comments you were talking about for the audience and for select board members?
I can, it's not on our agenda, so I'm not gonna, but it was the comments that you made about Carl McFadden being a white male and that board being white male, and that you felt that individuals, that you would like to see different individuals on that board. And I have received feedback from many residents that they were very upset with those comments and they felt they were inappropriate. And so I just felt like I wanted to make sure the residents of this town understood that we do not take things like gender, race, religion into deliberation on volunteers for boards and committees.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand. So I commented that there's a lack of diversity on the Burbank Ice Arena board. I did not make any specific comments related to Mr. McFadden, other than true statements of his past behavior. But I just want to be clear. So because I made a statement that I'd like to see a diverse Burbank board, you took offense and you feel like you need to apologize to the community. Just want to be clear.
That isn't what you said, though. You said
So
the
no,
board
I'm
is-
asking you what you just said. You want to apologize to the community because I asked for a diverse board and committee.
No, but that isn't what you said.
That
so
is
that's-
what I said.
We could go back to what you said verbatim. and
Okay,
that's
well,
not
we
what you
could go
said.
back to what you just said too, but I just want to
And
be
I
clear, what
stand-
I just heard is that
Okay, we're going to move
you're
on
going to
now. It's not on
apologize if I
agenda,
make a statement asking for diversity, so thank you.
But that's not what you said, so we're going to move on now.
That is what I said.
Okay, Karen. We'll now move on to our agenda items for the evening. At 7:12, we're way past 7:25 at this point, but public comment. We will have a town manager report, discussion on election ballot recommendation and election outreach signage, community spotlight, consent agenda, which will include vote to update town clerk fee schedule, vote to appoint members to the town forest committee, a presentation by Zoll to honor the fire department staff who had their first cardiac arrest using Xenix equipment, update from our police chief, vote to close the warrant for September 1, 2026 state primary election, review and discuss policy for the naming of the town-owned facilities and properties, override discussion, select board liaison reports, and future agenda items. Do we have any public comment in the room? Nancy? Name, address, and you have 2 minutes, and make sure the light is green, but I think you know that.
Nancy Doctor, Pearl Street, Town Meeting, Precinct 1 meeting member. These are two issues that were previously discussed. I had voted against joining the MWRA way back when we still had town meeting in the old high school. I was probably one of a dozen, not because I didn't want to save the Ipswich River, but I did not want to give up water rights. So I was relieved when our town manager alluded to that we haven't completely abandoned that. And that is why I'd like you not to be penny wise, pound foolish. Keeping that $20,000 a year to maintain our water rights is like term life insurance. This board just spent thousands of taxpayer money for your safety detail. Keeping our water rights is safety for the town of Reading. So I really would like you to really think broadly and have a little bit more future in mind before you give that up. The second thing is I appreciate the attempt to put public comment on the agenda. I think it should still go on the agenda because there was so much deliberation around that request. That was leaning into an open meeting law violation. I think it should go on an agenda and it should be openly discussed. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment in the room? Do we have any public comment online that you can see?
Nobody online.
Okay, great. We're going to move on to our town manager report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll try to be brief tonight. For building projects, we're humming right along. The Killam School building project mobilized this morning, actually, with the first construction trailers placed on the site by our contractor, Braid Builders. Steel is going in on the Recal site. That began last week. The building is coming up quickly. Wood framing is scheduled to begin next. So they're moving along very quickly, and we will be placing a time capsule under the entryway for future generations of Reading residents to discover many years from now. We've had a lot of different input. We've got patches from the fire department and the police department, a town report, which probably nobody will read 100 years from now, but I'm sure it will be fascinating. And we have the grocery store flyer from Market Basket for the 250th, for the 4th of July weekend, which is, John Coote saved that for us, and it's perfect. So, and a number of other things, and I'll also include a letter to future Reading generations. We have photographs from the groundbreaking for everybody who attended. So it's kind of a fun little thing to think about what future generations might be thinking about many, many moons from now. So, so that's one thing. Let's see. Also, High Street is closed beginning today as crews began pulverizing the roadway. Paving will begin later this week. We are working very hard to stay on top of our messaging. And we appreciate feedback that we're getting from the community and from our businesses downtown to keep on top of that. So it is a very challenging issue to message as things change, and there's many components going on. I do assure the public and our businesses that our town engineering, economic development, DPW in total, operations, and several other departments are involved in all of this work. And I'm grateful for our staff for all the work that they've been doing. We have an update from the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission. They recently approved the all-alcohol restaurant liquor license for the new restaurant Bean and Barrel, which will be opening downtown. And I know when I was a select board member, I always kind of wanted to know from time to time, what's our current liquor license number? So right now we have 21 issued all-alcohol restaurant licenses, and we have 7 remaining available. So now's a great time to open a restaurant in Reading. I'm just saying, we got some licenses. And finally, and most importantly, I am placing a hiring freeze across all town departments for FY27. We do have several vacancies that we will fill, and for which we are funded. However, we are leaving some positions open for now, including the assistant town engineer and the volunteer coordinator in Elder and Human Services. We will maintain priority for public safety roles, but we will critically, as always, evaluate every position as it opens. What this means, practically speaking, for department heads is that they cannot advertise any position unless it's approved by me first. So that is what I have for you right now. We do have actually on the agenda here, the next topic that was supposed to be a subtopic here is the language around an override question, if the select board were to call for an override, and then some conversation about signage and outreach. However, we do have an override conversation later in the meeting, and so I didn't know if there was an appetite to defer that conversation until later in the meeting.
Yeah, I think at this point, it makes sense to defer it to our override discussion.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then moving on to the community spotlight. I want to take a moment to honor and thank Tim Kerwin for his significant body of work in service to the Town Forest Committee, where he served for 5 years, for the last 5 years. He also served concurrently on the Trails Committee from 2022 to 2024. We've all said earlier this evening, we're grateful to all our volunteers, and I especially wanted to honor Tim's gift of time and talent to the community. And then in a little while, we'll be talking about the fire department and their experience with the new Xenix products. And so I'm going to leave that as our true community spotlight for this evening. Thank you.
Sounds good. We will move on to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Seconded by Chris Haley. All those in favor? 5-0. We will now move on to our presentation by Zoll to honor the fire department staff who had their first cardiac arrest save using Xenix equipment. Absolutely.
Come right up front.
You guys can set up front if you'd like.
Come right up front, guys. Come right in. Come on in, guys.
Thank you, sorry for the delay.
No, no delay at all.
We'll pack them in. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the town of Reading, the fire department. My name is Corey Ferrix. I am the territory manager for Northern New England for Zoll Medical. I've got my little corporate canned speech I've got to run through that we'll run through it quick. But before I go through that, I just wanted to say that since partnering with the town of Reading, it's been a breath of fresh air. It's my responsibility to drive through all of New England, working with fire and EMS departments, and the men and women of Reading Fire are second to none. The culture that Chief Nelson, Assistant Chief Keogh have built, the camaraderie amongst the guys and girls, it's second to none. So it is a department that the residents of Reading should be proud of. And as someone who frequents Reading myself, living in the area, I'm certainly proud of them. So tonight we wanted to present the chief, the department, the men and women, an award for being pioneers in patient care. So on behalf of Zoll Medical Corporation, our entire EMS and fire team, it's truly an honor to recognize Reading Fire Department as a member of Pioneers in Patient Care. This recognition is reserved for a very select group of organizations around the world, true early adopters who are willing to lead from the front, embrace innovation, and help shape the future of emergency care. Today, there are only approximately 20 organizations globally that hold this distinction. Reading's team's decision to implement the Zoll Xenix monitor defibrillator demonstrates a commitment not only to innovation, but to continually advancing the level of care delivered to the community. By adopting groundbreaking technology early, you are helping redefine what's possible in the pre-hospital space. At Zoll, we often say the Xenix is inspired by you. That phrase is more than a tagline. It reflects the partnership we have with providers like the Reading team. The insights, challenges, and experiences of clinicians in the field directly inspire the technology we create that innovates. Your willingness to partner with us, provide feedback, and push the boundaries of patient care helps us continue improving the tools that providers rely on every day to save lives. Together, we're building the future of emergency medicine. Today, we want to sincerely thank the Reading Fire Department and the town of Reading for not only trusting Zoll, but for your leadership, your partnership, and your dedication to the patients and the community you serve. Congratulations to the team. We recognize you as a pioneer in patient care. We're proud to stand alongside you on this journey. So I've got a nice plaque for Chief, Pioneers in Patient Care for the Reading Fire Department. And then for our two gentlemen here, we've got a couple of SAVE certificates and some challenge coins for them. So first, firefighter paramedic Ben Braz. This is one of the first saves that we have in the field with the new Xenix device. So Ben, thank you. Congratulations, sir. Secondly, firefighter paramedic Doug. I'm going to destroy this, man. I'm so sorry. Kodu. Look at that. Close enough. Thank you. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate the partnership. It's truly one that we cherish and we value. And again, Chief Nelson, the entire team, all the men and women of Reading Fire, they're amazing to work with. And it's, they're a group of people that departments in the area should strive to be like. All right. Thank you.
Does the board have any feedback or comments they'd like to share before we, go ahead, Karen.
I just want to say, for a group of people that you never want to see at your front door, thank you very, very much for all your service, and thank you for saying all the kind words about the department, because we feel the same way, but we don't all get to experience their skill level, so thank you.
Chris?
Thanks, Melissa. And thank you all. To Karen's question, unfortunately, I have seen some of you at my door, so sorry about that. If you can just briefly tell us what this actually does. It's different than a defibrillator. Like, what makes this so special?
So with the upgrade of the technology, there's a number of things we gained, but I'll highlight three of them for you. So when firefighter Braz and firefighter Couture showed up with a 57-year-old male in cardiac arrest, they had to go to work. They have a lot of the same tools that they had the day before, but now they had this new tool. And there's couple things. So first of all, they have to be able to read the electrical activity of the heart, the EKG, okay? Well, one of the things that this monitor now does is it reduces what's called artifact. So extra squiggly lines that make it really hard to read. So by doing that, they're able to get a much clearer picture of what's going on in the heart and make a diagnosis to give the right meds and the right treatment at the right time. Okay. The other thing it does is it actually has a more accurate blood pressure cuff. So they're getting better, more accurate blood pressures. So as they do treatments, they then again can make their assessment. Do they need to give a medication or not give a medication? And then the last one is this new machine actually has a feedback for manual compression. So manual compression is super important in this because blood has oxygen in it, but if it's not moving, it doesn't get to the brain. So doing the right compression with the right time and the right depth to get that blood moving is critically important. So this machine actually gives you feedback on rate, depth, tells you all that, and it flags it. Okay, you're not going fast enough. You need to go faster. So what this machine does is allows for better, more accurate care at that patient immediately right away. So it's really up the game, and what allows these gentlemen to do and the rest of the providers to see here is give better, accurate, more accurate care to the patients when they need it.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other feedback? I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of your hard work, always. We're always so proud of everything you do for Reading, the residents, people that live here, people that drive through here or are just here visiting. And to hear the recognition from outside is incredible, and you all deserve it. And we really appreciate all your hard work. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want a photo? Chief, can we do a quick photo?
Would you like a quick photo?
Yes, please.
With who?
Totally we could do it with the smaller group or the bigger group. We might have to get everyone back here. They tried to run out very quickly.
We'll do zone reps too?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure you want my mug in there?
No, but we'll do it anyways. Come on, we're gonna do the picture.
Short guys in front.
Really tall, so.
Yeah, short guys in front.
I will try to get the brown.
Go back further.
Yeah, but it's good, it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
See you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, boss.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
turning the police off.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Standing there just like sucking it in.
I didn't.
I hate to be on the edge. Oh, I hate being on the edge.
So horrible, I'm gonna have to use.
That's why I like.
All right, now we are moving on, an update from our police chief.
I hate following the tall chief because I feel like I always have to address the move the microphone. I want to thank you for letting me come tonight, give you an update on something. Much better. I thought I was having an issue. Okay. Thank you. Just joking. Sorry. So today I formally notified the town manager that I'll be retiring on Monday, May 10th, 2027, after more than 32 years of service to the town of Reading as a police officer. I know what you're all thinking. How could you be retiring? I look like I'm 30 years old.
Right,
I get it.
exactly.
I understand, but thank you. Appreciate that. It's been my greatest honor of my professional career to serve the community, a town where I grew up, where my parents still live, where my family and I proudly called home. I want to sincerely thank the residents of Reading for the trust and support you've shown me throughout my career. Serving this community has truly been a privilege. I especially want to thank those residents who supported me during my process of becoming chief and who have continued to support me throughout my tenure. I also want to thank the dedicated men and women of the Reading Police Department. There is no finer group of professionals that could have hoped to have served alongside or the privilege to lead. When I became acting chief in 2018, I set out to continue moving the department forward, and I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished together. During that time, we've diversified the department, introduced comfort dogs to support our school resource officers, added a mental health clinician, established a drone unit, brought the department's first ever canine unit in. We had the child safety seat inspection program come in, significantly increased our social media presence, and increased our community outreach programs many times over, including adding a youth academy and increased outreach efforts with our senior community. We've also enhanced officer training, expanded de-escalation techniques, and invested in more less than lethal options to give the officers more options on calls. Sorry. Perhaps more importantly, we've accomplished these initiatives through grants, donations, and seizure funds, not by increasing the burden on our taxpayers. I also want to thank the town meeting and the previous town managers for approving funding to replace our outdated 1980s era CAD system, which is a computer-aided dispatch system, with a modern public safety platform that will significantly improve our ability to serve the community. I want to make it clear that my decision to retire was made quite some time ago, well before any discussions regarding an override. I had this discussion with the previous town manager, Matt Cronalis, about retiring, and I want to give the chance to have town manager Jane Wellman settle in a bit before I walked in and said, hey, I quit. But I wanted her to get settled in before I shared my plans. I look forward to working alongside with her during my remaining months of service with the town, and Reading is very fortunate to have her as our town manager. Many of you are wondering why I'm announcing this retirement now. It's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Karen Rose Gillis. Thank you. That's great. So, the police department and the entire town, for that matter, is about to enter a challenging period. With negotiations with all three bargaining units, at the same time, the town faces an important budget decision surrounding a potential override. Those decisions will shape the future of this department, and it should be made by the person who will be responsible for implementing them, not someone who will be retired when they take effect. I will, of course, assist during this transition, but the next chief should have the opportunity to lead these discussions from the very beginning. Looking ahead, our department will need a strong, experienced leader to navigate the challenges that lie ahead. Fortunately, Reading already has that leader. If I may take a moment to give my opinion, I offer my unequivocal recommendation that Deputy Chief Christine Amendola be appointed as the next Chief of Police for the Reading Police Department. You will not find a more qualified, more prepared, or more respected candidate for this position. Some people may understandably call for a nationwide search. The town could spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on consultants, assessment centers, and recruitment efforts. But I firmly believe that no search will produce a candidate more qualified than the leader we already have serving this community. Many of you know Deputy Chief Amendola through her work, but I believe her full background deserves some recognition. Deputy Chief Amendola served 12 years in the United States Army as a military police officer, and she achieved the rank of Staff Sergeant. She graduated from Airborne School and earned her jump wings. Now, I know some of you might think she volunteered to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft. That either makes her brave or completely nuts. But tonight, we're going to go with the fact that it makes her brave, okay? So let's just stick with that. Deputy Chief Amendola served 3 combat deployments, including deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Bosnia. For her leadership in Afghanistan, she was awarded the Bronze Star for meritorious service. I want to note that none of my department veterans, myself included, have ever received the Bronze Star. It's a high achievement to earn that in a combat zone. By the time I retire, she'll have served 21 years with the Reading Police Department, including 6 years as Deputy Chief. Throughout her career, she has served as a patrol officer, traffic and safety officer, field training officer, RAD instructor, patrol sergeant, and the lieutenant overseeing support services, and she was the accreditation manager for the town. She successfully led the department through multiple accreditation assessments, and she became deputy chief in 2021 after topping every promotional examination and every assessment process required for her advancement. Today, she serves on the Municipal Police Training Committee, helping shape law enforcement training standards across Massachusetts, while advising the Post Commission, the Commission of Police Officers Standards and Training. She also serves on the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission Training Committee, instructs accreditation managers statewide, and serves as an MPAC assessor. She has been selected to teach and speak at numerous women in policing conferences throughout New England. She is also a certified promotional assessment center assessor. For those unfamiliar with that means that Deputy Chief Amendola serves as an assessor on all promotional assessments from every rank in all police departments across the state. All right, helping evaluate candidates for advancement through a fair, structured, and standardized process. So any assessment that be done, that's what she does, as well as serves as an assessor. Deputy Chief Amendola is currently attending a 3-week National Senior Management Chiefs Training at BU, and she's living over there for the next 3 weeks while she's attending this national program with hundreds of police officers from across the country, all captain and above. These accomplishments only represent a portion of her distinguished career. One of the most important responsibilities for any leader is succession planning. Ensuring continuity and stabilization within an organization is not optional, it's a fundamental obligation. I began this process when then Lieutenant Christine Amendola was selected to serve as the deputy chief because I believe she was the right person to eventually lead this department upon my retirement. The purpose of succession planning is simple: to ensure that whenever the chief is absent, whether it be on a vacation or an emergency, there's a complete confidence that the department will continue to operate seamlessly. You do not place someone in that position unless you're fully capable of leading the organization. And when that person has already demonstrated the capability every day for years, there's no need to make them jump through unnecessary hurdles simply because the vacancy has occurred. The Reading Police Department is operating exceptionally well today because we've built a strong leadership team. That continuity should continue. With contract negotiations approaching and a significant budget decisions on the horizon, time is not a luxury we have. For that reason, I respectfully urge the town manager to appoint Deputy Chief Christine Amendola as the next chief of police and ask the select board to confirm that appointment. Thank you for allowing me the honor of serving this remarkable community for more than 3 decades. It's truly been a privilege of a lifetime, and I will always be grateful for the trust the people of Reading have placed in me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any comments within the board? Anyone? Karen? Do you want to go first? Chris?
Karen can go, is motioning.
I was not expecting this at all. You caught me completely off guard, and so I'm kind of speechless, but thank you for sharing. And I'm looking forward to coffee in the next year, so we can chat. That's all I have to say. I'm literally speechless.
Chris?
Thanks, Melissa. And thanks, Chief Clark. It's clear by your presentation now that you spoke more about Christine than yourself, and that's what a true leader is about. You elevated her to the position that she should be at and spoke more about her, like I said, than your own self. So thank you for being a class act. Thank you for, protecting us here in Reading for all these years. And I really wish you the best on your next adventure, whatever that might be. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Karen?
Well, congratulations, you made it.
Thank you.
And thank you. I concur with the board. Thanking so much for your service. I seem to remember you were stepping up even as interim while we were implementing security measures that nobody could talk about across the town. And that's my earliest memory of when I met you. And you have a number of accomplishments, and you did a great job of outlining them. And I don't want anyone to forget that you are also a leader among departments in trying out hybrid and EV technology and incorporating it into the future as we seek to reduce carbon emissions. So I appreciate and applaud that. And I also wanted to recognize the fact that I've always thought that after you were promoted, we also had a very difficult time in our country, and it was a very difficult time for policing, I think. And so you had to keep up the morale of your staff and team and continue the outreach and the policing of the community. And that couldn't have been easy. And I'm glad it's in the rearview mirror, and congratulations for that as well.
All right, thank you, and I appreciate you recognize that, Karen. Yeah, I took over within a couple of weeks. The incident with George Floyd happened, and then COVID happened, which impacted our ability to go out and reach out to the public because of all the restrictions. So yeah, it was a very interesting first couple of years, so I appreciate you acknowledging that. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Sal?
That's why I know we don't know each other very well. It's been a short time, but I appreciate you reaching out for me when I got on the board, and I hope we'll have coffee before the retirement.
I'll
get to know each other a little
We're
better.
willing to help and have coffee with anybody.
Yeah,
so,
all right.
yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for all of your work for Reading over the past 32 years. We, appreciate everything you've done in your position as chief and, before that. I know that we'll have many opportunities to celebrate you in the next so many months, but I just want to say congratulations on retirement and, looking forward to working with you to, fill the next seat.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I thought your boys were here for this.
No, they were actually working for us. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, in light of that announcement, I would like to schedule a meeting with you to talk about the succession to the police chief role.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll get that on the calendar.
We will get that on the calendar. Maddie will take care of that for us tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on to vote to close the warrant for the September 1st, 2026 state primary election. I don't know what we have.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you to both of you. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Sorry.
I can't get it down short enough for me.
I know, it's annoying.
So, I wasn't sure, I'm assuming you wanted me to come and talk to you about the warrant. But, it's the basic warrant that you would sign off for the state primary for September 1st, and all the offices are listed on the warrant. If anybody has any questions?
Does anyone on the board have any questions? No, I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah?
Yeah.
Should we have that to sign now, or? Okay, great.
If you could, that would be great.
Fantastic.
I have a copy right here if you need it.
We got it.
We ready for a motion? Or we're gonna vote to close the warrant?
Do we have a motion? Yes, we must have a motion.
Move to close the warrant for the September 1st, 2026 state primary election.
Second.
Second by Sal Bramante. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
We'll get the sign for you.
We have that other agenda item that we skipped.
No, we postponed one.
Yeah, no,
We postponed it to the
We
override.
postponed it to override discussion.
Oh, I thought it was.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
That's my fault. Yeah.
I was like, what? Okay. Now we are going to move on to review and discuss policy for the naming of town-owned facilities and properties. I believe we have a memo from Ivrea.
So, yeah, Madam Chair, we have a policy in your packet, and there are comments from Ivrea in here.
Yep.
And Jim Sullivan is the author of this.
Sure.
I
Of
was
the
gonna-
Cliff Notes, we will say the
I
Cliff
was gonna
Notes to
say,
start
was
this.
this ours? Was this naming policy Reading's, or we were just kind of?
So we don't have a naming
Okay,
policy.
that's what
The
I
school
thought, but I just
departments do have one, so I've been doing some research over the last 2.5 weeks or so, looking
Okay.
at schools, looking at other towns and seeing what they have. This is a draft. This is a starting point. In the end, the select board, you have the authority.
Okay.
We hope we've set you up to look at this and say, this will work. You may look at it and say, start over. What I did was I put together a presentation, basically Cliff Notes of what I sent over in the packet. I think Maddie has that to pull up. It's maybe 4 minutes or so.
Yep.
So I'll go through it, and then if we can hold questions to the end, I think that would be best. There are some questions that we know we'll have for you that hopefully you can answer, so it can help us go back to this draft and try to get it to where we think it is nice and tight and bring it back again for potential approval. This is the first policy I've had the chance to write as an administrator, not a department head. Appreciate Jane giving me the opportunity, so I'm going to quickly go through this little presentation. As I mentioned, the town does not have a policy for naming facilities. Since I've been here, I think we've done one. It was the Jamie Mon Path. It went through Conservation Committee, it went through Recreation Committee, then it came to the Select Board. I see in the future that there's going to be some more coming this way that could be harder conversations, so I think it's important that we lay out how we're going to do this moving forward, just so we're consistent across the board. If you want to go to the next slide. Purpose of the policy, establish fair, consistent, and transparent process for naming town-owned facilities and properties. Recognize those individuals or organizations whose lasting contributions have significantly benefited the town of Reading, ensuring all the naming requests are evaluated using consistent criteria. Providing opportunities for public input before final decisions are made, serve as a guide for naming and renaming town-owned assets, and then preserve the select board's discretion and final authority over all these naming decisions. Throughout this town, you can see this one here, we have a field, Pete Moscarell Ballpark, also known as Newt Morton Memorial Field. We have a few of these throughout town. It does get confusing for some folks, so coming up with policies on how we can name fields, how many times we're naming them, and what we're naming them, I think is going to be very important moving forward with some of our ballparks and our new amenities that we are building right now. Go to the next slide. Basically, the criteria, what we're looking at is town buildings. It could be interior rooms. I know some of the rooms in here are named after folks, parks and playgrounds, athletic fields, courts, pathways and trails, pavilions, open spaces, historical buildings, and any other public facilities that could come forward. We do have an evaluation criteria that's in there. It's on there right now. I'm not going to go through this and read all of them. It is all in that first initial draft packet. You can go to the next slide. Eligibility, individuals or organizations who have demonstrated exceptional service or made significant contributions to the town of Reading may be considered for naming recognitions. Eligible nominees may include, but not limited to, former town employees, board and committee members, volunteers, former elected or appointed officials, coaches, educators, community leaders, donors, or civic organizations. All of the above shall possess, contribute, lasting positive impacts on the town of Reading, obviously to be considered. Next. All right, this is the kind of the tricky part. I don't know if you guys saw the flow chart. I did make a flow chart. It was a map, and it was
from residents by flow chart.
It's a good flow chart.
Like it's a flow chart.
It's a flow chart requested by
I did
Miss
that.
Wellman here.
Thank you,
So
Jim.
this kind of breaks it down a little easier from my mind to read. So the way this would work is we will set an application process that would be on the town manager's website. The application would be filled out online. It would go to the town manager's office. Maddie or Jax would get it. They'd review it, make sure it was complete, and then they would pass it on to the appropriate party or department, who would then give it to their committee, whether it's Recreation Committee, Council on Aging, Historical. We've got a lot of committees. So they would determine who it belongs to based on the request and where the field is. If it's a ballpark, if it's a basketball court, it's probably coming to Recreation, the Recreation Committee. If it's somewhere over at the Senior Center, it's going to go to the COA. They will review that application. They will open it up for public comment. They will have a discussion. And then what it would be is a vote, whether it's favorable or unfavorable, to go on to the next process. Regardless whether it's favorable as far as a vote or non-favorable, it would go to the next committee, and that would be a naming review committee. I know we love our committees here. I'm not saying we have to put together another committee. That's going to be up to you guys. But I think having as many hands in this is not only going to protect the initial committees, but also the select board at the end, because it's a hard decision. I think having your name put on something in a town as a citizen, probably one of the highest honors you can get. So I think it's important to do. So the naming review committee, they would have a meeting, do the same thing, discussion, public feedback, discuss their thoughts, their opinions. They would give an unfavorable consideration or a favorable. That would go to the select board. You are the ultimate vote on this based on the recommendations that are coming forward to you. It would be placed on an agenda item for you, posted like any meeting is, and it would be up to you to make that final decision. The whole process, I think it's broken down 6 months. I think it gives us enough time to get these committees all together. But again, this is just a draft. Next page. Upon the approval of the select board, giving the thumbs up to name a facility after someone, then it would go back to the original department or division or committee to implement, whether it's the signage, the plaques, a memorial marker, set up the public recognition, set up a dedication ceremony, and any other related administrative actions needed to complete the entire process. A question was, who's paying for this? I reached out to what the facilities department just did with the Charlie Hardy lacrosse field, formerly known as Turf 2. That was all donated by family, and I believe Reading Youth Lacrosse had contributed some money as well. Some towns will have the town pay for it. I think the nominating party should pay for that if at all possible, but that's something for you to decide. But it's a question we'll have for you guys moving forward. As far as the signage, we would bring in community development. I talked to Andrew McNichol today just to make sure the signage and everything we're doing is consistent, it's fluent, it matches what the town has already. Next page. And the fun part, renaming or removal of the name. This does happen, so in this policy, we'd make sure that we'd have a process in place if something comes up that was not favorable for a name that we had given a field. What we would do is we'd repeat this process. There'd be an application to potentially remove a name of a field or a facility, and it would go through this process again, starting from the bottom, going to the naming review committee, up to the select board. Here's a little bit of homework. The forming of the naming review committee. I think Jane and I might have spoke with Laura a little bit how we want to do this, whether it's an actual committee, an ad hoc, or are we combining boards that are being appointed? I don't know if, Jane, you want to speak on this as far as forming a new board? I've never formed a new board.
Oh, no, I don't have anything to add to this. It's up to the select board if you want to create a new board and go through the vast. Thank you. Why, thank you for turning on my mic. It's up to the select board if they want to create a new committee and put it to the VASC process to appoint. Can you tell us how the naming committee is formed on the school committee?
So it starts with the school committee. There's an application that is placed, then it goes to their advisory board for review and final decision.
Okay.
So they do have an advisory board similar to what we'd be doing here with the naming review committee.
May I add to that?
Sure.
So,
Should you come up here, Laura, so everyone at home can hear you too? Sorry.
sorry, I thought it was loud enough.
I mean, you probably are, but I'm just trying to cover all the bases.
So they just recently formed an ad hoc committee to do naming, so that every time they name the school committee that names a building, they form an ad hoc committee. That's how it's happened in the past.
So it's just for that one.
Correct.
Just one at a time, as needed.
That's what I got appointed to last meeting or the prior meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And they change it for each item, project, building, bench, whatever?
Correct.
I think the way I understood it from school committee is they set it up so it was like a member of the select board, a member of the school committee, a member of.
Correct.
Et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's how we'd set it up, is that it has to be a member from certain boards. And then when the name, if something comes forward, you get a member from each of those
You
boards.
could get a new member from each of the boards, or do you stick with that group for a period of a year or 2 or 3?
I think it would depend on elections and
Right.
who's on current boards and committees at
Right.
those times. Because you could have one naming and then
not have anything for years.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think I understand.
Yeah. I mean, I could see 2 coming up in the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we may not have anything for
Correct.
5 years, right?
Correct.
So,
I think that we may have a couple coming up in the near term, but typically you don't have them. And so the first step going, okay, this is vetted, this is real, and you send it to the appropriate committee for that round one. If they say, no, this shouldn't go forward, then it stops it right there. Like, no, we're not going to do this. But they say, yeah, this makes really good sense, and we do think that the select board should be advised how to go forward. That's when the board would, create that effectively an ad hoc committee to take it to the next level and do that deep research and, that would be required, see if it meets the standard, and then go forward from there.
Okay.
So that by the time it gets to the select board, you'd have the recommendation of your naming review committee and also the recommendation of that applicable board, so recreation or conservation or whatever it might be. So you'd get, a number of recommendations advising you, which I think is really helpful.
absolutely. Chris?
Just real quick, unless I'm misremembering the school committee scenario, I think they had a difficult time actually fulfilling their ad hoc naming committee this last time around. So just to be cognizant for us doing the same thing, they had difficulty even filling it. Where I believe I got mentioned of doing like 3 roles because I'm a local business owner and all these other things. They would have subbed me out for another select board member, so.
Karen?
Thank you. So yeah, I did serve on an ad hoc committee for, not the field house, but the courts.
The
Named after
Vaccaro?
Coach Vaccaro,
Yep.
yes. So, couple things. This policy says that after 20 years, the name could revert to the town, which seems to me could be an administrative burden, and I'm not sure I would be in favor of that policy, although having the out, if you need to make a change or you want to make a change, is certainly important. And by the way, thank you for putting all this together. I've
You're
been
welcome.
asking for this for months, and thank you. This is a lot of work. And then the other thing I'd like, so the school committee has a lot of things that they name, and a couple years ago, one of our members was appointed to the Halcroft Stadium Naming Committee. What was
At
it?
John,
What was it? It was the track.
Yeah.
Halcroft Track Naming
at
Committee.
Hollingsworth Stadium.
And what?
At Hollingsworth.
John
Field.
Hollingsworth.
Yeah, so it's another one of those, almost like a
Yeah.
2-named field.
So it's sort of, if we want to go through a process and make sure we pick the right person and get lots of input, I don't think we should name the committee after the person, like, before we've gone through the process. So that'd just be, like it's a Halcroft naming committee, like, who do you think they're gonna name?
Yeah. This is more, I think, more just general, so that it would encompass all.
Yes.
I agree.
So
I would
that's
not
good.
want it to be specific for one
Kinda
because you know what you're getting.
Yeah, and I do like the folks that are super excited and taking on the cost of those granite pillars and that expensive sign. That's and this process is probably long enough to give them time to raise money if they need it. And we erected a clock for former select board woman Camille Anthony, and that was done by donations from the community over a period of time. And I might add that we created a new park up by the new water tank, and we could consider naming that, and that could give this policy a test run. Thank you for your hard work.
You're
So I
welcome.
don't,
There'd be an
appreciate
application
that.
too, but like I said, it's all going to come back to you guys are the final voices. I'm just kind of lay the groundwork, and I am happy to get input. Jane's happy to get input, happy to go back to the board. But looking at what the other towns, I looked at Lexington, Wellesley, Dedham, Burlington, and it's a mix of all of this. Some of them is just it goes to the select board and you guys vote and it's on you. I don't think that's necessarily fair because when you do have to say no, it puts you in a hard spot. But if you have 2 groups that have looked at it prior and it's similar situations, it's hard to say no to people, especially when they're dealing with someone who may have just passed or something happened tragically. So it's a little bit of protection for, I think, all. And I think it gives the group coming in a lot of respect that it's being vetted so much before a final decision is made, whether it's a yes or a no.
Absolutely.
So curious, what do you think, I did go through it and like just had some thoughts about it. Should we share them with you and like now or like in a separate document? I feel like we could be here all night if we're just
Yeah.
throwing things.
I think it would be great if you sent me your thoughts.
Yes, okay.
Just you can mark up the document, or you
Yep.
can write a separate document.
Terrible at
Or if
that,
you
so-
don't want to write it up, you want to call and talk it through,
email.
we can do that too. I'm happy to do that one-on-one, and then we will, take those changes.
Yeah.
Ivrea had a bunch of really good ones. They came in right before we sent the packet out. So I was like, include them. We're not going to rewrite the whole thing, Thursday afternoon. So we were grateful that she sent them on our timeline. And so we'll incorporate her pieces as well, and then we'll bring it back for another reading and, potentially approval with incorporating everybody's,
Fantastic.
to the best of our ability, or, we would like you to decide on this or this and see where you are with it.
Great.
So, yeah.
So I think if we could ask board members to share their thoughts, opinions, input, over the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
That would be helpful for you guys to look at it and then incorporate it for a next run at it on a future agenda.
And if we don't hear from you, we will haunt you for comment.
Yes, so if you don't
Or
have any
maybe you
input,
don't have
maybe
any
just
comments,
share
that's fine too.
It looks good or something, just so they're, you guys are aware that,
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate you
Thank
doing
you, guys. I
this.
appreciate all you guys do as well. Appreciate it.
Great job, Jim.
Thank you. All righty, what are we on? We are on, yes, override discussion. And also we'll talk about the ballot questions that we skipped over earlier in the evening.
So the purpose of tonight's conversation initially was to talk about two pieces. One, the form of that an override vote could take. And so we have those ballot questions taken directly from DLS. I did not augment them for Reading in any way. They are just taken, that language is taken there. And so we'll go over that. There was some discussion about could we do a better job of separately from the override, but somewhat related. We have the primary ballot on that you closed earlier. And then, I beg your pardon, the warrant for the primary election. And then we have other conversations about override votes. So there's a conversation about can we do a better job about informing the public about all elections? So we have a little conversation on that. And then we also have an outreach calendar that we've discussed previously at a select board, at a financial forum that I'll go over with you. We included in the packet the previous financial forum presentation that was given by myself and Sharon for you to look at. Some of these numbers have changed, and we'll be presenting them tomorrow at the select board meeting. So we can go over these as well. We can talk about any questions you have. If you want to talk about numbers or that kind of information tonight. So it depends on what the appetite of the board is, but I wanted to bring that and give you that opportunity to have that conversation now, because the request is that the select board will vote next week to determine if you want to bring something forward and what that number will be. Because that number, we have to pull all of that together and send it to the state by August 5th. So that gives us the runway. And the questions, basically, we take it right out, so it's really the number. So what's the appetite of the board? That's the conversation we want to have a little bit tonight. Okay. So first, if you go back to the beginning of your packet, we have the question format that we're talking about. And if you have questions about sort of what's before us and about how this works, and I don't know the answer, we will have some runway to get that back to you. So the Division of Local Services from the Department of Revenue has this document called Proposition 2.5 Ballot Question Requirements and Procedures, and I've included the link to that document in your packet. Can you make that a little bit bigger? Thank you. So we're exploring three options. Does the board have the appetite for a single override question? Is there an appetite for a tiered override question? So that would be multiple multiple options at different values, or a multi-year override. What that might look like is if we were to increase the levy limit by round number $10 million, but the first year the taxes would go up 4 million, and then the second year it might go up 2 million, and then the third year would go up 4 million again. So it's still $10 million, but it's taken in smaller chunks over 3 years. That may be easier for residents to, say, I can, that's more affordable to me than all at once. And so we want to be cognizant of, inflationary pressures that residents are feeling, and also the borrowing that we've done for our debt exclusions. So these are the options that we have before. So in a single question override, you can do a general purpose or general category. So shall the town be allowed to assess an additional $2 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding operating budgets of the town and public schools for, fiscal year beginning July 1st, in this case, 2028, or general categories. So the same thing, additional $2 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding local and regional school, public safety, library, highway, parks, recreation, and general government expenses for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2028. So one is just operating budgets for towns and schools, and the other one is more specific which departments, which categories you're looking for here. It achieves the same purpose. But it's somewhat nice, it might be nice to know when they're in the ballot box, which departments are being funded through this particular increase. A tiered override question example. So we've seen this in a number of towns. Marblehead did this recently. They passed their middle tier. Melrose did this recently. They passed their higher tier. Stoneham did it on their second round, and I think they passed their lower tier. So we are seeing this more commonly in communities than we've seen it in the past. So what this would do is it provides voters with a choice of 2 or more different funding levels, and you can do it, again, for general spending purposes or for specific services or programs. A separate question is offered for each funding level. And the funding levels are presented as alternatives, not independent proposals, which means a higher funding level proposed in a question also includes all the lower questions. Maybe that seems obvious, but it's important to mention. So therefore, if voters approve more than one question, the approved question stating the highest dollar amount prevails, and the community's levy limit is increased by that amount. So if you were to pass if there were 3 tiers in Marblehead, they passed the middle tier, but not the highest tier. So, but the lower tier and the middle tier got high votes, but the middle tier got the highest number of votes, and over the third. Does that make sense? Okay. So we have an example in here as well, and then you have a multi-year override, and this again presents 2 or more questions which apply to a different fiscal year. So, for example, the amounts and purposes don't have to be the same. So I believe they also did this in Marblehead, and maybe our guest in the audience knows, but the school portion of the Marblehead override was will be phased in the second year of theirs. So an interesting proposal. So in this case, it would say, will you allow the town to assess $1 million in taxes for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2028, and then will you allow the town to assess an additional $500,000 in taxes for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2029? Okay, so that, or whatever the years are, but it's just the following year and the amount for the following year. Okay? So these are some of the options before the board, because we would have to make a decision before going forward. And if you have questions, I can always go back and get answers on them in advance of tomorrow even, before we go to, when we go to Finance Committee. And we'll have a little bit of this discussion with them and see sort of if they have a request to the select board that they would like to see. Okay.
Do any members have any input on, an opinion of single number, multi-year, tiered over years? Does anyone have any feedback on that to share with Jane?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jane,
And I probably read over it. Has anyone successfully done a multi-year override where it was one number one year, one number another year, and one number third year?
I don't know I know Marblehead did this two-piece.
Right.
So like the school department portion was coming in the second year. I don't know the full multi-year, if another town, but I can find out.
And theirs was specifically operating the first year. It's like, it's something you could see or touch, like they knew school was going the second.
Yeah, it's
period.
on the
Right.
documentation that I've seen that was communicated
Okay.
to voters. So, and you could put it, I mean, I suppose we could put it in here. I didn't put the exhaustive list of all the different forms of these questions, but it says that the questions don't have to be the same and the purposes don't have to be the same. So for example, you could say in the first year, could we do $1 million for, funding schools and towns, and the fire department, the police department, all those different categories. And in the second year, would you approve this amount of money to fund schools and fire? And just limit it to that second, could be another option too. Not to confuse things.
So knowing that this is an operational override, everybody, does that make it more confusing if you're gonna say, well, we're gonna hold, and I'm just using examples, this means nothing. But if we're gonna do one thing the first year, we're gonna wait for the police and the fire for the second year in the school. Do you know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
proposing that, just so we're clear.
Okay.
I'm not proposing that at all.
Okay.
I don't want to.
I was hoping
It's just
that.
an option you could do, but I don't
Okay.
want to propose that.
I just don't wanna go that way.
We're proposing, spoiler alert, a 6.5%, I'm sorry, $6.5 million override for FY '28.
For the
That
low.
is the low tier.
Okay.
That we're, now, the board wants to massage those numbers. It just, there are consequences into what that looks like. That leaves positions on the table with a past override that would not be filled. But, and it leaves a few other things on the table as well, but we think that is a proportional number to what was presented and passed in 2018. So we'll have lots more discussion about how we get to that number tomorrow night, but I'm happy to talk more about it tonight.
Okay, so we'll
Sure.
get more about that tomorrow.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, happy to talk more about how we arrived at these numbers.
We can do that tomorrow. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna add on the question, but if anyone else would like to go first.
I have comments.
Chris? Oh, Karen, doesn't matter,
Okay,
either,
thanks.
either or.
All right, so you want to have a more in-depth discussion tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know where we're going tonight as far
Right,
as this
right,
goes. I don't know if we want to get into the nitty-gritty of the dollar figures that you have, because that's the one thing I think education's going to be hugely important on this, and I want to try and make it really simple for people to understand.
Agreed.
And so that's what I was trying to get at. And so as
Okay.
far as the numbers, people have told me today, what does it mean? Where's it going to go? And they don't know what we spend our money on. And I think the override is going for, as I said before, not the sexy stuff. It's not the stuff you can touch, or you see a school and you see a recal, but this is like, we don't see IT, we don't see all the stuff in the background and unemployment insurance, and that's what this is basically going towards. So I think, not that we need to make it exciting, but it means a lot, if you lose insurance in business or at home, it has a huge impact on your family and residents. So I think that education part of it, we really have to dig into.
We definitely do. Part of tomorrow's presentation goes through a real list of sort of what happens if there's no override. What does that really look like? Because that's where you're going to see more of the consequences. The override that we're bringing forward is for a 3.75% budget. With that number, it is basically looking at level services. This is to continue what we're doing as we're doing it. We have a well-funded and operationally excellent fire department, as you heard earlier, well-funded and operationally excellent police department. Our school department is well-funded and has incredible reputation and operationally excellent. So in order to keep the service level where it is, this is where we need to be, because we have been funding our budget for too many years with supplements from free cash. Okay, and so our free cash utilization to support our operating budget has increased significantly since 2020. And what has happened is the amount of money that we're using to to close that budget gap. It's called a structural deficit. That amount of money is now greater than what we're regenerating in utilization. And so tomorrow I have a deep discussion about how we got here, why now, like why wasn't it done earlier? And there are lots of reasons and different leadership approaches, but we have been talking about this as a community, that this was coming. And, it is our belief that in order to continue the level of services for the community at the high expectation that Reading residents have come to expect and deserve, then this is where we are. Now, that number, 6.5 million, is still has some austerity built into it, right? We have maintained level services for so long. That's why the regeneration is less, okay? Because we don't have leftover monies in our budgets. Because inflationary pressures have driven up the cost of everything that we do, like most people are experiencing it at home. So the margins that are available at the end of the year that contribute to regeneration have diminished significantly. What's a big part of our regeneration right now is interest income in our investments. If we didn't have higher interest rates and we didn't have a treasurer who is moving money around to aggressively chase returns, our free cash position would be more deleterious than it is. Okay.
Thank you, Jane. For the sake of just a little bit of organization and efficiency, if anyone has any questions on the general override question, can we just do that first? And then we'll jump into the other questions, just so we're kind of staying in order here. So Karen, did you have a question or comments on the general override questions, the three options?
My general comment is that I agree with Karen. We have to keep it simple, and that would eliminate like 1, 2, or 3.
I'm sorry?
My general comment is to agree with Karen that we need to, it's complicated to communicate, so it needs to be simple. So 3 options for me is off the table.
Okay.
What do you mean 3 options?
Do you want this tier, that tier, or the other tier?
6, 7, 10.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that should save some work.
Right?
Yeah.
So are you looking more towards 2 options or?
I'm open. I'm not hard. People like options, choices. They feel like a little bit in control.
Okay.
Just keeping it to general comments.
Okay, that's helpful.
Chris, did you have a comment on the question piece? And then we'll dive into the other stuff.
Yes, pretty much. So there's the 3 various options that we can do here. And I know why that we're doing the override now. I made my prior comments on how we are, approaching this, because the November ballot, it's free to put it on this ballot kind of scenario. But my going through the motions just to do it thing waned on me the other day when I got my tax bill in the mail, as everyone else did. I did the math times 4, came up with the number and said, what is going on here? And having said that, I will not be voting for any override options until the April ballot instead. I feel that we don't even know what any of the questions that how we want to even approach this now. I understand there's going to be other meetings with it, but I think the town has to do a significant amount of due diligence and do this right the first time, because I think it was going to fail regardless, and I don't want to put ourselves in this position. It's a lot of serious talks have to be done with it. You mentioned 6.5. 6.5 is way too low. We know that number is way too low. We're going to have to come back again in 3 years or something like that. You have to shrink the denominator. That's it. We got the packet. It showed where we're going in 5 years. Huge number up there, and it's like, how are we going to bridge? We're like going tens of millions of dollars 5 years into the future on this. Who is going to be able to afford any of this? So for me, I'm not voting for any of this. We just have to go back to the drawing board. It's going to give you time to refine and go forward, with the best approach. And I don't disagree with the approach, because the general direction was to rush this and go in this kind of thing. But for me, we're going to step back and put a pin in this. We can still have our meetings, go through the discussions, but I'm not voting for anything until April.
Sal?
So I guess my question is, so if we do go with the two-tiered approach, that means that the override passes no matter what.
No.
Is that correct?
No.
So,
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that it passes.
so one option wouldn't pass over the other?
One might get out more votes than the other, but you could still have more no votes than yes votes, in which case neither option prevails.
So they both could theoretically not pass?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
The option with the tiered option, it gives people some choice. And I think that feels more empowering to voters. So, that's a factor. Some pieces will be available in the higher, so in the lower tier, weekly recycling is not included. Weekly recycling is off the table in the lower tier. We can't afford it. So, but we could put it in a higher tier.
The lower tier is the 6 million.
6.5. That's correct. Yep. So, you're right. Right now, I think it's important to know that with the fully loaded estimate of what we would have to cut if there's a failed override, that includes unemployment and benefits and so forth, we would have to, based on an average salary of $85,000 and $15,000 in benefits, and then the unemployment that would have to be budgeted for these layoffs, we're looking at 74 positions between the town and the school. That is a number that will impact our services significantly. Everybody will feel that in our community. And it's also a large number. It's going to put staff in a difficult position. It will affect morale. And then if we decide to wait, to Mr. Haley's point, which is very valid, and I hear your comments and respect them, if we wait to go to the April ballot, we can do that. But that is 2 full budgets that we're bringing forward, not one. It's a lot more stress and work. If it were to pass in November, it's a little bit better. But again, these are discussions for the board. These are decisions for the board to make, and I'm here to give you the information to help the board make these difficult decisions. You find yourself in a position as a board, and me as your manager, looking at a structural deficit that is greater than has been seen in any prior year. And so that's a big responsibility. So right now, that structural deficit is about $6.5 million right now. We are supporting in our budget with free cash, $6.475 million of free cash to buttress our operating budget this year. So that's your structural deficit, which, as Mr. Haley points out, will only increase over the years if you look at the projections that Sharon presented previously. And I do want to note that the CFO is on this call, and she is available for questions. And I appreciate that she's on the call at this hour. So one of the policy proposals I will be presenting to the Finance Committee, and I present to you tonight, is I think that we need to do a better job with free cash utilization as part of our fiscal discipline. What do I mean by that? In many other communities, we don't use free cash to buttress the budget. Reading has a tradition of using that to upfront as we balance our budget. But there's a reason for this that's a good reason. We fund, as a matter of policy, 5% of our capital investment in our budget every year. Many other communities appropriate their money for capital investments, so fire trucks, field replacements, those roofs on buildings, those big capital investments are budgeted in the fall after free cash is certified by DOR at their fall town meeting, okay? So that's how they fund their capital plan. We have a tradition of funding 5% upfront. We have done this for many years. It's an excellent policy. We've been recognized for it at the state level, and we've been rewarded for it with a AAA bond rating as part of the rationale for our bond rating, because we invest in our public buildings and our infrastructure regularly, and that's built into our fiscal discipline. What I'm proposing is that we tie whatever amount of money that we're using for free cash directly to the amount of capital that we're spending in our budget. So, for example, we are proposing reducing, this year we're using 4.5% capital in our budget, capital and debt. If we were to have a failed override, I have proposed an additional almost $1 million in capital cuts, and we would defer those expenses out. That would include an ambulance, that would include the equipment to go on an ambulance, and some other investments. Those would be deferred, and then our capital budget would be about $3 million, and I would request that FinCom would fund with free cash up to $3 million, so that our capital matches whatever free cash we're using, which is still a model that is sustainable. It replicates what other towns do, but it still fulfills that upfront investment. But it limits what we're doing with free cash, so we don't find ourselves again in the future with so much free cash we're using to buttress the budget. Probably we should have had override conversations perhaps a little earlier, or made reductions earlier. So this is where we. Policy discussions, thank you, also good. And we've also done a lot of things on the town side to address some of the inflationary pressures, like, as you know, renegotiating with our public employee committee, our health insurance agreement, which we anticipate will save about $3.9 million over the 3-year agreement. And we're so grateful to our employees for working with us on that aggressively to share that savings with them. So, you know, we're working on the background stuff that's pushing up the inflationary pressure as well. We're not just sitting still and taking it, as it were. We've been working very hard as staff to attack these things one by one. But, you know, this is what we're looking at right now.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to touch base on what everyone else has kind of said here, that I agree with simple, clear, transparent options for our residents, and I would support a single number going forward on the ballot, although I do understand what Chris is saying, and I think that we have a lot of work to do, because I think that we need to clearly explain why we have the structural deficit, and, you know, really make it very simple for residents to understand what's happening and where that lack of funding, like what happened with health insurance and unemployment and all the other stuff. So residents can understand that. With just passing the 2 debt exclusions, I think a single number with a clear explanation of why is a little easier to swallow, because I don't think asking to fund wants and new programs right now is the right approach. With a new building being built or 2 new buildings being built, I just don't think that's appropriate right now. I think that we need to sustain our core services and, you know, help residents understand where that structural deficit is and why we are looking for this one number. I mean, we're the leaders of the town. We've been elected to be here. And I think that, you know, if we're putting a tiered rate, for me, is confusing, I think, for a lot of people. I also don't want to pit school versus town or department versus department. So I really want to make it an operational override, question-wise. I would like to see it be an operational override for the whole town with one number. And, you know, the support needs to be there of why that is needed. And, you know, this isn't because we want to do X, Y, and Z in these new programs. It's just to sustain what we have currently. And I think that that will be very important to, you know, get across to everyone and, you know, help residents understand where we stand.
Thank you for that. I would like to add that when I asked the department heads to put together their level 1 budget, I said, we haven't had a level 1 conversation in years. What are things that you think your department should have that you don't have right now? And we'll have that conversation. And then I cut a lot of it. I cut $1.6 million out of their request before we went to level 2. So just so that we can maintain a 3.75 budget. There's a lot of things that we're not doing. We can put that information out to folks, what that list is. But there's a lot of things that we're not doing, and it makes budgets tight, and it means we have to make choices about what we can do, and how far we can go with certain things. And if we are cutting our staff down the road, it's going to impact every service. It's going to impact snow clearing. It's going to impact, response times. It's going to be we're going to do our best to preserve our high level quality of services. But if we're cutting 74 people or so between the town and schools, or the equivalent, that equivalent, that's significant. And I do want to take a moment to just thank the school department. We met with them last week, and we've met with them previously. I want to acknowledge that Philip Littlehill, their business director, is here with us tonight, and we have met with them to continue this work and to work together to show that we are one community, and our schools matter to all our residents. Our elder and human services matter to all our residents. Our public safety matters to all our residents. We are one community going forward together to make this decision.
Karen?
Question. In either case, if we go forward with a single number or an either or tiered approach, both of those solutions could be a multi-year implementation. Is that a correct assumption?
I believe it is. I can confirm that for you.
Okay, because I've been having a lot of conversations with residents, and on the typical house in Reading, which is 960, let's just run it to $1 million. A lot of people are seeing a 10% hit this year, and I confirmed with our CFO, who's online, that we are seeing payments. We had no debt last year.
Correct.
We are seeing payments on Recal and Killam, plus the regular inflationary 2.5% that it goes up anyway. So I'm not sure if the community all understands where that came from, and we talked about when we were going to start paying off the debt. So Sharon can talk to the select board tonight, but clarify it. So great news, we borrowed the debt in January. We're making payments. I mean, so we pay it off, but it's painful. So in hindsight, people's tax bills, average home, didn't change much the last year because it was only going up by that 2.5%. We weren't paying debt, and that kind of absorbed it. So a lot of people, including myself, might have seen your tax bill and your assessment not change that much in the last 18 months. That was awesome. Well, this year it changed 10%. What I think, in terms of being transparent and showing leadership, we need to think about for our community members is that the next couple of years, no matter what we do, are going to be tough in terms of increases in our tax bills. And what I think I'm seeing, based on a quick conversation with Sharon, is that let's just assume we do an override for $850 per average household. I don't know, 6.5 might be a little less, but
yeah, it's
I think for next year, we're looking at, if we do the override, it takes effect pretty quickly, yeah? So if we do the override in November.
If we were to do the override in November, Sharon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it would, I don't know if it would hit in July or the following tax bill.
It would hit in July in the preliminary bills.
Okay, so I'm perfect. If this is the way it has to be, and we tell people, guess what, you're gonna see another 10% hit in July. Maybe it's a little less because now your bill's higher, but it's another big hit in July. And this is what's gonna be scaring people. And then Sharon explains to all of us. So we're about halfway through our borrowing, yay. But she has to do another borrowing. Those buildings are both gonna be opening fall of 2027. So she has to borrow between now and then. And it sounds like, since you had to get permission from the Department of Revenue to pull the payment back, sounds like the opposite could be true. We might have a little flexibility to delay starting the payments on the next tranche to maybe 2027. But to make a long story short, even if we do that, we got another 10% or maybe a little less hit coming, because it's roughly an equivalent borrowing. We're still gonna have the 2.5%, and hopefully that's it, that our levy goes up anyway. And then, so that's like very simple math. That's 3 years at 10% hit, which is tough. If you bring into a fact that we pass an override that you could implement over multiple years, I don't know operationally what it does to you guys. it could stretch it out into 4 years and make it a little more palatable. I don't know if it could go to 5, but that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at like little to no change last year, 10% this year, 10% for the next 2 years, assuming we pass the override. And you're gonna explain to us, if we don't pass the override, we're seeing lots and lots of cuts.
Yeah.
Or the other thing we're choosing not to do by talking about this override is we still have free cash to pay our bills. We could write another check, but then we'll be below the red line. We'll be below the red line and we will get whacked.
Well, I mean, you're right. We will be below the red line, but it won't be just below the red line. It'll be a little bit more than what we have, than we're using. So, I mean,
Yeah, no, it's
Sharon, I
bad.
don't know
We
if you want to
shouldn't
speak
do
to it, but it's like, you're thinking at the end of FY '27, we're going to have maybe $7 million in free cash. So it would be hard to,
I guess that depends on how much free cash FinCom allows us to use, for fiscal '28.
If nothing
But
changes,
yeah.
if policies don't change, then yeah.
yeah.
And so that then likely, so we're gonna be very low. We have $2 million in the stabilization fund, and we're gonna have little to no free cash left, maybe 6 million in total. So it's pretty dire. So
I mean,
we have to
yeah.
communicate that to the residents as well. It's pretty
And
dire.
That's correct.
And if nothing changes.
So I love the way that you kind of laid out what's going to be coming on the horizon in the next few years. And so we do have a tax calculator that's active on our website that speaks to the debt exclusion. Once we have a number and once we know sort of the direction that the board wants to go, we'll update the tax calculator and people can look at that and they can see what it will look like. And, if we want to do a multi-year option, we can show what that looks like. I mean, considering that we're borrowing these debt exclusions, I think that a multi-year approach, and I know that Sharon has been an advocate, she's talked about this a number of times over, I think the last year I've heard her talk about it, that softens the blow. I mean, it's like, it would effectively be like an extra car payment for many households for the increase in their taxes. It would feel something like that. Actually, probably lower than that because I think the average car payment is $1,000 in this world today, which is wild to me. Yeah, I mean, we would be able to model it on our website, and people would be able to look at that and see, can they stomach this? Can they not? What is affordable?
And then, tonight everyone's hearing that if we don't do an override, we're looking at 74 positions. I can't even imagine what that is going to look like. So, I mean, that's the other thing that the residents, that will make it real for the residents, I think.
It's a significant
How many
number.
teachers, police officers, town hall staff, firefighters? 74 is a big number. DPW.
It is not.
Thank God we've outsourced trash collection.
Correct. But it's not something that's affordable. And we'll look at all the expense side cuts that we can make to preserve service levels and staffing. We can reduce, small things like brush pickup, leaf pickup in the fall, go down to 3 weeks instead of, we added 4. We added a week with the new contract, but we could drop that down. We can do lots of things, and we have, reduced how much we pay for rodent mitigation. And this year is not a good year to do that. We're funding that as well as we can, and more than we have in previous years. But we can reduce that. So we're reducing everywhere we can. But because we have been such small margins for years, we haven't increased those numbers. There's just not a lot on the expense side that we can cut. When you interviewed me for this position, I told you that government is people. And that's what's going to take to balance the budget if we don't pass an override, candidly.
So when you say you're going to propose 6.5%.
Million, 6.5 million.
Million, sorry. That's not buying us a lot of time. And so my
not.
concern is, if I think the sweet spot is 10 million or 10.5, and I want to try and get there from a 3-year approach, let's say that's what I'm aiming for. Even if you start at the 6.5 as the first year and 2 the next year and 2 the next year, what does the 6.5 million look like for the first year, and what are we losing, and how do we, and then the 2 the next year, what comes back into the equation And how long will that last us into the future?
Sure, we can model that for you. What we're looking at right now is if we did 6.5 million, then we would be leaving positions unfilled. There would be some restructuring that is done to maintain that level. And that would provide perhaps some operational efficiencies, but then we could restore positions later on, or we could, look at some of the things that were cut out of that 1.6 million in the level. So one of the things the fire department asked for were 4 additional firefighters. We could consider doing that in a later
The
iteration.
second or third year?
Yeah, potentially. But what we know is that that gap will increase. We also have assumptions that we're looking at, right? We are assuming that health insurance will increase 10% per year. We hold that number aside. We are very hopeful that with the changes that we've made to our health insurance agreement, that it's not going to be at 10%. And so we'll see some of that. By the time, and I think this is really kind of a great note on the horizon and speaks to fiscal discipline that has been, utilized in previous years, is that by FY32, we will have paid off our pension liability. And that's millions of dollars that can go back into our operating budget, but also go toward our OPEB liability, which we're funding at about $500,000. So, that's big. So by the time we get to FY32, it frees up some money. So if we get there, it makes things a little bit easier. You can talk about growth. You can talk about programs that the town may want to take on at that point. But this budget, what I'm proposing, is not about new programs and new growth. It will fund the new buildings that we're building. But if we don't pass the override, I'm not hiring as many people as would be the recommended level to properly care for those buildings. So we're not going to be able to do that, but we'll be able to keep the buildings open.
So I feel like a strategy for this is we tend to think of it year by year and how many positions are we going to lose. But if you think about it like a 10-year plan, when in the best of worlds, Eastern Gateway's, much closer to doing something in 10 years from now, or whatever it is that will kind of change the environmental coffers of Reading. Do you know what I mean? So if we look at it in a much, not like the water where we look at 10 years out, but we really have to look at things kind of that far out because things could change in our favor 10 years from now.
Well, you're absolutely right, and this is work that we're doing. So you're right. Eastern Gateway becomes the economic engine.
Right.
The MassDOT has put Walker's Brook on the tip. We know for sure. We know for sure that once the project is put on the tip and completed, you see greater economic investment on that corridor. We have exciting new things happening in our downtown with development, and we have opportunities there as well for build-outs and development there. So yes, economic development is important, but Reading has limited land that's available, and so we will not be able to stave off overrides in forever because we can build out sections of our town. So we know we can't do that. Some communities have been able to do that, but we won't be able to do that because we're built out.
Can I just add one piece of this too that we need to consider is that we also have CPA on the ballot for November. So I do think that needs to be added to our online calculator so people understand what the full ramifications, if all are voted yes on, or a portion are. Because I think whether this passes or not, our responsibility to the residents is to make sure they have all the information. I think you said this, but I want to confirm. When they do the calculator online, with whatever number we come up with, we add CPA in there. And will the second piece of the borrowing be in there and when that time frame will be, so people really understand what their tax bills will look like in a year and a half to 2 years?
We can try to model that. I would defer to Sharon
Okay.
because my understanding is she's going to ban additional borrowings
Yeah.
and then do that final borrowing after the projects are finished so that we're not borrowing excess funds.
Yeah, absolutely, which is fantastic that she's doing that. I'm just afraid that there could be residents out there that think that money already got fully borrowed. And then they're gonna get a shock when, that additional
second piece
comes onto the bill. So I think we just need to be very transparent on what those bills will look like with everything there.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you. Sharon, I didn't,
That,
there we go. Go ahead.
so just so we're clear, that first tranche of debt that's hitting in fiscal '27 was $50 million for Killam and $20 million for the recal, which is more than half, and was supposed to get us through June of 2027 without needing to borrow. However, both projects are coming in well below budget. So that cash that we borrow will probably last longer than anticipated and probably prolong our need to borrow. So if there is a need for a borrowing, my plan is to borrow by short-term borrowing, which would not require a bond rating. It's a quicker process. And we would just pay interest in that year. And we could definitely show the impact of that. Problem is that I don't have any updated cash flows yet for Killam. We just brought on the general contractor. So I need to get a feel for how the change in pricing is going to affect that cash flow. I would guess our cash flow is going to last longer, what we did borrow, because the overall project is lower. And the same probably is true for recal. So getting updated cash flows will definitely help me get a more accurate figure. But the longer we can go without borrowing, where we borrowed more than half knowing that the override was coming, I'm hoping we won't have to borrow anything or have a debt payment hitting in the same year as the override hitting. So I'm hoping that the second tranche of debt will not hit until 29. If we, I just have to confirm with those cash flows. How long will the cash we borrowed last? Because we borrowed more than half of what our portion would have been of 130 million for Killam. Killam, I think our end of it, our share was supposed to be at 86 million. So we don't have, if it was 130 million, we were supposed to borrow another 35 million or 36 million, but the project's coming in much lower than that based on what we saw from the general contractor. So far, it looks like we're not going to need as much. So I do think that that's going to work in our favor, but I can't say for sure without updated cash flows, which I've requested, and hopefully I'll get soon so I can give some better timing, because what I'm using is older data, which was fully loaded at the 130 million for Killam and 29.7 for recal. I'd like to see some cash flows from the contractors that kind of show me the timeline updated for the new costs. So, but I don't, we're going to do everything in our power to minimize what hits in the same year as this override.
Talk about FY '29, which is calendar 28.
It starts in 28, that's right.
Okay, because I know, okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So the later we get
it's
into fiscal
consecutive
28, if we had to do that second tranche of debt towards the end of fiscal 28, you wouldn't see any payment in 28 related to that second tranche of debt because, we pay 2 interest payments, one every 6 months and 1 principal payment. So depending on when we have to borrow, it will dictate if we'll even have an interest payment on that ban if I need to ban. So I definitely think that it's very possible for us to structure this so that fiscal 29 is when the second tranche will hit, and it will be more accurate reflection of the total cost, because as you get closer to the end, you avoid overborrowing. So we're able to, surmise what the project will actually cost with all change orders and all the things that are going on. So we'll have less of that issue where we have leftover money. We might still have leftover money, but it'll be a smaller amount, so.
Yeah, and I think that's all really good news, obviously, to hear that both of these projects are under budget. I just think that, and this is really hard after you just explained what you did, but we really just need to be very transparent that there's still more to come for those projects. Great, it may be under budget. So I don't really know how you estimate what that might look like, but I just think that we need to be very transparent that full borrowing wasn't done. There will be more on your bill for it. It may be spread out longer, which is fantastic, but.
Right. Well, and it's not nearly, recal was total budgeted at, 28 million, and Killam was, the full project is 130 million. However, our portion of it was 86 million, and it's now looking like it might be closer to like 65, something like that. We've already borrowed 50. So the second tranche will be significantly smaller.
Yeah.
It's coming.
For both.
Yeah.
For
Right.
both.
For both.
Even if retail was 27.9, we'd only have 7.9 more to borrow, but I don't think it's going to come in that high. So the second tranche is significantly lower than the first.
Yeah,
So
which
that's
is,
great.
But we
which is
could-
fantastic.
And being transparent and communicating, that's really important.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
we will,
And that's
we
just
will
kinda
work
why
to
I
do
went.
that. We do have a schedule we've gone over previously at a financial forum of what outreach will look like. And that'll be multiple public forums, online-only forums where people can ask all kinds of questions. Daytime, nighttime, I'll go to people's houses and answer questions. You know, maybe not a lot of houses, I don't know. But no, I'll go anywhere and talk to anybody. So we'll do that outreach. We also have a video that will help explain the rationale. Again, it's complicated now as I'm explaining to you how municipal finance is complicated. But as we distill it out for the residents, we will do our very best to simplify it so people get the information they need. But if they want more information, it'll be there for them.
Fantastic.
And then, yeah, regarding the CPA, that the timing couldn't be more unfortunate. We have worked so hard on this. It would be so good for our financial stability and our capital investment going forward. But again, getting back to the keeping it simple for the community to try to, if we figure like we need to get them to pass an override, could we put off the CPA till the spring? Could we just, because also time is money. Time and
Second.
staff time.
Second.
So you mentioned
Second.
earlier, things are free, you're right,
Second.
but the things really aren't free. Like, I don't wanna do a failed override, that is so much of your time, and we're not working on other things when we're working on an adventure that isn't gonna be successful, so. Anyway, so I'm very worried about CPA, and I firmly believe in it, but why put all that hard work to waste?
I believe town meeting voted to put that on the ballot, so.
Damn them.
No.
I
So-
voted to wait.
No judgment. I have no horse in this race. So, but I do believe town meeting put that forward. So I would defer to our town clerk about what a process
Okay.
might be.
It has to go on the ballot.
Thank
They
you.
voted for it, so it has to go
Okay.
on November.
Do we have any more comments, feedback, or?
Just
I'm sorry,
one
go
other
ahead.
thing, Melissa. Yeah, I forgot, not to be lost in all this is pickleball also came in way under as well.
That's correct.
Because I've seen a lot of comments about that, and it's significantly under, as well as donations offset a lot of that.
That's correct. Yeah. I think we had, Sharon, you can remind me, was it $425,000? Or was it, we had $225,000 in donations.
For pickleball was 225.
The donations for pickleball. And then we had other sources.
And then the 200,000 came over from, we took it from Burbank Ice Arena, that fund, prior to us closing it out. So 425 was just money that we, had,
Right.
wasn't part of the operating budget.
Right, and then we also had, we dedicated 100,000 from the
art,
capital, and we got a park grant for 100,000. So 425, 525, $625,000 of pickleball is not borrowed.
That's great.
So it's significant. That
is all good news.
We've brought a lot of projects forward, but through fantastic work from our OPMs and our architects and our contractors, and the volunteer committees who meet, it's mostly the same people who meet twice a month on these projects. We have followed a process that has delivered us in a time of great uncertainty, huge savings on our estimates, and that's no small feat.
So feeding into what Chris says, if we wait until April, we could have better numbers and a better estimate of what we need for an override.
No, I would not concur with that statement. So we would have probably the same numbers. We would have more runway. Oh, would we know more by April? how much is left to borrow on those, or is that your question? Okay, I apologize, that makes sense. I'm not sure that's true because we'll be using cash flows that we're asking to have those cash flows now. So Sharon, that number may be more refined as to what additional tranche you'll have to do for borrowing for these
I don't
projects.
think it'll be very clear right away because I think we'll get an updated cash flow, and every month we'll probably get updated cash flows based on changes and delays that are happening in construction. So that's a ever moving target once it gets moving. And so that first cash flow is going to tell me a lot about when I might need to borrow the second. But if there's any delays in the project or we incur anything that's just unusual, that could delay when they need the second tranche to come in. So I don't think we'd be any different of a spot in April. That's just not far enough away for me to know. I just think that the tranche piece, we can definitely give estimates of how much that exposure is related to that second tranche and give estimates in terms of when we think it would come on. But I do not think it'll be fiscal 28. I would do everything in my power to avoid something coming in the same year as the override. That was the whole point of doing more than half, was to try and make the cash last longer, because we were going to borrow less upfront. But when we looked at those cash flows and we knew that we were going to need to look for the override in fiscal 28, we went with a higher number. And there are a lot of limitations when you're borrowing. You have to be able to spend by a spending timeline. So you have to spend 10% of this money by, 6 months in, so you have like all these spending thresholds that you have to meet. So we could not have borrowed the whole amount up front. It would have been hard to meet the thresholds in the beginning of the project. When construction starts, you start spending money much faster. So I would just say that I think we've been pretty transparent. We can continue to be transparent with the residents about that there is another tranche coming, a much smaller tranche, and an estimate of time and how much it would cost the average taxpayer. The tranche that is out there right now, we calculated at $568 for the average home. So I'm not sure if the reason people saw 10% is the combination of the appreciation of their home value on top of a debt exclusion being added, because it does feel like appreciation of property value in Reading is very quick. I mean, the last time we looked at it, it was $890. Now it's near like $960, and it's like, wow, that was what, a year and a half ago that we had $890 as the average value, and now it's not almost $950. So there's a lot of things at play. There's appreciation in the assessed value of your house that can actually increase your tax rate, especially if your house is appreciating at a faster level than others. So there's a lot of things at play. I was surprised to hear the 10%, but I did know that the first tranche of debt was going to be in the preliminary bills.
Does anyone have any further questions or comments? We'll dive into all this tomorrow night as well.
One other thing I just wanted to mention briefly, because we did have it on the agenda and the town clerk is here to speak to it, was we received a request to do a better job of notifying the public when we have elections. And any election, so this would apply to all elections, and Wakefield was listed as an example. And so one of the things that Wakefield does is they post like metal signs on, like stop signs or, town signs. They're not stop signs, but on town signs. Here, we have a picture. Thank you. Thank you very much. There you go. Town meeting or town, and they have also town election. And there's a magnet that changes the date, so it's reusable. Madam Clerk, would you care to elaborate, please? We had a nice conversation about this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Great idea.
Okay, we gotta fix this so that short people can talk into it. So it's been mentioned several times about advertising more for elections, and one of the things that myself and the staff works very hard to is to keep elections very fair and communicative to the voters. So when I went through Wakefield and I saw this sign, and this is a perfect way to not spend a whole lot of money and to not have consistently spending money. What Wakefield did is they ordered a bunch of these signs. They ordered the magnets with the dates. So DPW puts them up on the signs. I've spoke to Chris Cole and asked him to get a quote on how much they could cost. the magnets, I'll do a quote, do some research on cost. And I'm also going to work with the police department to determine what the best intersections are to put these as far as the most volume for the intersections. Any questions?
Any questions? Oh, Karen.
How many signs you looking for?
Well, that's something that I'll determine with the police department. I spoke to Chris Colt today, and he said less than 20.
Okay.
I'm looking for major intersections, which is, and I'll talk to the town clerk in Wakefield to see how many they put out. Wakefield's a little bit smaller than we are, area-wise, I believe. But I'll talk to them and see how many they use as well. I'm thinking about 20.
Okay.
And they do it for both, as you can see, town meeting and elections. We would just do it for elections as we have representative town meeting.
Karen.
Yeah, I was just gonna share, so I've been asking residents if they know there's a primary coming up September, and a lot of them don't, but then they say, but I'm getting the mail-in ballot, so I'll know about it, and they're relying on it. It's interesting how their behaviors now, I don't have to worry about it when the ballot shows up, I know there's an election.
Which vote by mail has increased voting turnout, and every year, as we do in every election, the increase is going up for every election because of vote by mail. So putting those vote by mail applications with the census is helping with the increase. It's helping the knowledge. Also, just so everybody's aware, starting this week, the state has sent out postcards to anybody that has not requested a vote by mail ballot for September. So if you haven't received that postcard already, that means that you will within the next few days, or you've already requested a vote by mail ballot for September.
Thank you.
I love this. I think it's great.
I've been wanting to do this for a while, and
I think this will be more effective than the DPW could put out the flashing signs sometimes. They'll sometimes put outside of town hall, which is great, but, they only have so many of those. You can't put them everywhere.
well, when you think about it, drivers are looking at street signs.
Right.
They're not necessarily looking at the flashing signs or the sign that's out in the common, but they are looking at street signs. Any suggestions on intersections? I'd be happy to listen. If you want to send me an email so we can get an idea of the number, but I will talk to the police department next week at least, at the latest.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any other feedback?
No, I know a great stop sign that lots of people look at. So.
You do know, I'm sorry, you said you do?
Which one would that
Which
be,
one would
Karen?
that
Which
be?
one do you think it is?
I honestly have
It is
no
right
idea.
outside my door.
Oh.
One that everybody who runs the stop sign
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
continuously.
Well, maybe this will get their attention and they'll start stopping at that stop sign.
Probably not.
We can have wishful thinking.
Yeah.
So maybe Wakefield can give you an analysis somehow of where they put the signs and realize that they weren't effective and why, and whether they moved them around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll reach out to the
Yeah,
clerk and
yeah.
get some input.
How long have they had it in their town?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that I've noticed them ever since I've lived here, so
Oh, okay.
17 years at least.
Okay.
Pretty
Awesome.
easy solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything that increases awareness of elections. Well, thank you
Okay,
very much.
so as soon as I get the information on costs, I'll share that with Jane and she can share that with you.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, I think we can move on to select board liaison reports. Does anyone want to volunteer to go first? So,
So I went to the permanent building board, committee, sorry. They just talked about milestones for the center at, the Center for Active Living, sorry. They had potential credits, for the rooftop and mechanical access. They had approved payments for J&J vendors and, what was it? J&J and BH&A for $1.3 million for J&J, $33,000 for BH&A. They were talking about bidding out two windows, I guess, two window options to, because they were gonna divide a room into two different rooms. And they were talking about timelines too, so the steel erection was supposed to be done 4 to 5 days after that meeting. And I think they might be a little behind, because I was driving by there today, and it just looks like they're still putting up steel. And the elevator shaft is all built. That's all I really had for liaisons.
Thank you. Anyone want to go next? Sure. Karen.
I had office hours at Tannerville on the 25th of June. Great attendance. They have a lot to say. Really good ideas in their community. One thing I wanted to try and do at the beginning of my, after I was elected, was trying to tie residents together, and they're really interested in becoming more of a part of the town as opposed to feeling like they're in a little world over there. This year they had Porch Fest for the first time, so it was great. I went to Porch Fest. I saw Karen there a little bit, which was really great for them. They had a really good time. We had our finance committee select board meeting on the 25th. The 27th, I went to Porch Fest. Fabulous day, fabulous weather. It was great. 110 acts or something. It was wonderful. 29th, had a town forest committee meeting in the town forest. We did a walkthrough of the areas that we had recently planted over Arbor Day weekend, and lots of successful plantings, which is always a good thing. They said that usually you have about 10%, but I think there's going to be more, so it was really good. Talked about the vacancies, the upcoming forest management plan that they're working on, funding, invasive plant removal plans that are going on. And they talked about the bird walks that have been going on that have been incredibly successful. Thank you to Dave Williams for doing them. Some of the events have 90 people attending, so there's a lot of people interested in birds in Reading. On the July 1st, I was at the library reading at the Frederick Douglass Together program. It was really wonderful. There was a bunch of us that all had a couple of paragraphs to read as part of his speech, and it was really, learned a lot about his life and how he got to where he was. I went to the Climate Advisory Committee Board on the 2nd. During VASC interviews, it came to our attention that their committee is shrinking in size. They've had a couple people step away, so I'm trying to support them to try and get their name out there. They're thinking of rebranding their name to kind of help residents better understand their goal and their purpose, so there'll be more on that later. And then Historical Commission meeting on the 8th. They always have a very full packed meeting. It was probably as long as one of our meetings, if I can say that. Yeah, and talked a lot about the updates on 32 Lowell Street. They talked briefly about the electronic signage that they talked to Jane about in the town common. And then I attended the CPDC meeting yesterday. Eastern Gateway made a update presentation to them to give them an idea of the zoning and discussing the recent abutters meeting. So that's that.
Thank you, Karen. Chris, Karen, anyone want to go next?
Yeah, can I ask, so is anything going on with the Disabilities Commission, just because there could be grants they could be applying for?
They, I don't know when the next meeting is. They've had a couple of meetings and they have formed their group. I don't know when the next one is, but they've been having some really good meetings. I don't know if there was a scheduling conflict with vacations this summer, but they are meeting.
Chris, you can go if you want.
Yeah, just brief. I'm going on vacation tomorrow. Dr. Henry Turner had his first school committee meeting. You're just going to say that, Melissa? Well, sorry. Is what it is. So congratulations to him being officially on board. There is nothing really going on in Reading right now, so I'm sure he's got lots of free time. And then I met earlier today with Jane on something about a potential app for the town and whatnot, so that'll get discussed and brought up before the full board at a future meeting. Lots of good things with that at no cost to us.
I was just gonna ask.
No cost to us,
Right.
which is the big
Like staff
selling
time
point.
cost, there's a cost.
Yeah. But still no cost to us, which is great. And I think that's it. I did attend lots of meetings, but, I don't want to say it's late, but it's late. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, I attended the Reading Historical Commission because I hadn't seen them in a while, and 3-hour meeting. That was impressive. And what was really nice, or my takeaway, was that these folks next door at the church, as Karen mentioned, were there, and they've been really struggling with this building, and it is on the market for a lot more money than Pleasant Street Center was assessed for. So I would never go with that assessment or appraisal, but they have an accepted offer, but they really want to stay in that building. But they have some serious maintenance issues, roof issues in particular, and but one of the things that is important for you to know is that they started a conversation with the Reading Historical Commission. They really want to keep that building, and one of their ideas would be, and they don't really want to sell it. So could they come up with a place to live in that building? And so they were really going to the commission to ask where do they start, and I think we pretty much directed them to Andrew, but that's kind of neat. That would be, it's not like we don't have multi-use buildings in our downtown. So this church, which is kind of weird because it's a church and it's zone residential 15, so that we left it there. But they're the nicest people. This is not an easy building. And it is such an important part of our center. I was really impressed. And sometimes people coming before these boards and committees that have to enforce the laws are not really they're not really happy to be there. So these people were so nice. So thank you for it's 2 nonprofits in that building. So then, mentally, actually, then the commission started thinking about, they also touched briefly upon the Pleasant Street Center, because again, then those 2 buildings start seeing similar, because she's got her historical building with 2 nonprofits with similar style deed restrictions as that. So it's good. So the commission is all about what do we have to do to get Mass Historicals to support what we're trying to do. And in general, if the local historical commission wants to do something that says we support this, then they are generally inclined to agree. And I think it's just a good, it could be a good practice run for moving forward with Pleasant Street Center. So I wanted to let you know about that. And then, so Porch Fest was fantastic. Big crowds at Tannerville. I'm so happy for them. And the gardens are amazing over there. I took pictures of the gardens. So they have local gardeners. That's such a nice model for senior housing. I love it. And I also went to the Unitarian Church. They had a big rock band going, local residents and Summer Avenue residents. It was so much fun and the weather was good. So thank you for the Porch Fest committee. Appreciate that. I attended a permanent building committee meeting with Sal, and I didn't have office hours this month, but I was able to attend a community luncheon at the Pleasant Street Center and sit with some residents, and we talked about the tax bills. I'm like, hey, get your tax bill yet? And we talked about it, and it's, so wanting to have the right information, because we're starting to have conversations. It went up where, what's up with this override? When's that happening? Things like that. So very much appreciate having this conversation tonight. And then let's see. One thing that came across my transom is that the Massachusetts was giving out some pretty hefty trails grants. I'm just going to round to, I saw 3 of them in the $30,000 to $50,000 range. And I was like, that is serious money. They went to Newburyport, maybe another couple towns out there that were sort of close together. And then Conservation had applied for one. They didn't get it for this year, but I was like, I wanted to make sure they knew about this, and I saw it on their agenda, and, they can just go back again with the Parks grant. I know the Recreation Department applied year 1 and they didn't get it, but they applied again a couple years later and made them feel guilty, and they got it. So, so I just wanted to encourage that, and I was happy to see those giant trails grants, because what are they trying to do? What are we giving them? A couple $1,000? If they could get, $30,000 or $50,000, that would really, really help keep our boardwalks through the wetlands in good shape. Council on Aging is not having a July meeting, so I don't have to do that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
been quiet for me as well. I attended the FinCom meeting back in early July, or actually I take that back, late June. And then school committee meeting was July 9th, Dr. Turner's first meeting. They also did talk about the override a little bit. The consensus of their board was just stressing the importance of, providing detailed information to the public, what the potential impacts will look like, very similar to what we've all said here. So that's all I have as well. So we will move on to future agendas. On future agendas, one of our meetings coming up, we are going to do our select board goals. So I'm going to ask everyone here to send their select board goals to Maddie to put on for a future agenda. I think, did we have it on for August? We do, yeah. So if you could send them to Maddie within the next week or so she can make sure she has that for the packet, that would be fantastic.
What are the goals related to?
Our select board goals, and they could probably, I think that we had a discussion about like kind of mimicking them a little bit off of some of the town manager goals that we gave her. And then if you have any others, please share them with Maddie, and then we can talk about them at the August meeting.
Personal and
Team, select board, yeah, the whole group, I think. And then, if we piggyback off the town manager goals, stuff like that. And then if anyone has any future agendas that they want to make sure we have, please, Jeff. Yep.
Karen mentioned the Pleasant Street Center, and I don't see that on there. So just maybe an update on that. I know you did the road show, Jane, but where we stand.
Assessments back? Yes, that's
Yeah,
excellent.
we do need to talk about that. I'm not sure the best time to talk about, but yeah, we do. And then we need to have another conversation about Matera Cabin. Because great news, Northeast Metro Tech is very interested in taking that work on. Yeah, it's big news. We'll talk more with them in September when they're back in school and we have people to talk to, but it's fantastic. Their superintendent, DeBerry, was fantastic. We're really enthusiastic, so I'm grateful for them. And we will still have to work on what that budget for materials would look like and how we would fund it. And then we need to bring that forward for the, perhaps the fall, so that we could get that work done in the spring.
Maddie, can you just scroll up so we can see what that August 4th meeting looks like? Public comment, okay. Is it possible to add the Pleasant Street Center to the August 4th meeting? Do you think you have that, or should we wait till September?
I have to bring September, because
Okay.
I have to bring what we have to the Permanent Building Committee, and it wasn't ready for their last meeting at the beginning of July, so I need to bring it to them for the beginning of August. Okay?
Does anyone else have anything that they would like to see as a future agenda item? Okay. We'll make sure those two are on there. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Sal, and we are adjourned.
Vote.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I thought you skipped the vote.
Oh, you're right. All right, no discussion, all those in favor? 5-0. Good night.
It's 9:30.